Can you guys see everything?
Yep, I can.
Very well. All right. So, clans. Well, there's two, or at least more than two ways of what a clan is originally and what a clan becomes is a process. So a clan is generally the descendants of one person within whatever household or ruling family. So now the indigenous household structure is that, and this may be different words in different communities, but the idea of umnumzana comes from umnini mzi. Umnini is the owner, umzi is the village, but the smallest unit of umzi is the household with many little buildings inside. It's organized in such a way that the man of the house and his multiple wives are at the center. Sometimes, depending on how rich and noble the man is, can have one wife, two wives, three wives, five wives. And then the men will also have sons. Generally, in the beginning of their marriages, they stay in the same yard as the father. So all the married sons and their houses will be surrounding the house, the main houses of the yard. The unmarried sons, the unmarried daughters also have houses here, and that is the smallest unit of umzi. It's a collection of family homes in one homestead, and that homestead is symbolized by one kraal. One kraal. So a homestead is symbolized by a kraal. So that one kraal, that means there's only one property owner here, the main man of the house. When there's many kraals, that means there's many property owners, because a kraal symbolizes the wealth of the family. Now let's say now it's a family of princes, it's a royal family, right? Now the man, because he marries royal princesses, or at least for the most part, so that they can bear an heir. What will happen is that because the princesses are not of the same ranking, some princesses come from much more senior families, some princesses come from lower families in terms of rank. So their children are not going to be of the same status within this family. Their sons are not going to have the same level of power and influence. The most senior or the most high-born princess will bear the heir. So they don't have to worry about new clans forming. They'll generally run the family, the royal family that's ruling. Now, the right-hand family tends to be the one that leaves. But the right-hand family somehow has is autonomous. They can run everything by themselves, but they can never be the kings for the most part. So they tend to move away from the royal family. So what happens is the right-hand children tend to form their own clans. They form their clans not necessarily because, how do I put it? They're not leaving their original clan, but they're forming their own branch because then they can't really, run the family. So their direct descendants tend to use the name of that prince now. Yeah, boy. We see this. I did share at some point. Let me see if I can find it here. For example, Amampondo. If you look here, Amampondo, and you have Umtwa, and then Umtwa, you have in the right hand house Ugi. In the main house, you have Kwalo and Ngwangule or Ngangule. These people, Ngwangule and Kwalo, both of them are independent clans today, which means this one went on and have had their own descendants who call his name. This one went and had his own descendant who call his name. Same thing this side. Amantlane went on and had their own descendants. My paternal grandmother comes from this clan, Amantlane, Onhlanga, Onqabane. Amavalela had their own clan name as well. And this one you can see, they are called Amadingat. Why are they called Amadingata? Because they come from Umkondwane, who gave birth to Tuta, who gave birth to Dingata. They took Dingata's name, and all these other ones took Dingata's name, became Amadingat. This side, you have Ukuana, who gave birth to Khas. All these people then took Khas's name as a clan. So there's that primary thing about princes, because these kings would have like 20 children, and not all those children are going to be happy with the royal family and how affairs are run. So some of those children are just going to go and form their own clans and have practiced their own authority there. But the truth is that they're still related to this line, but they've just left it and formed their own independent clans. Will they be living alone? Generally not, but there will be the majority of the people in that area. So what happens is that clans tend to move now to new lands, but they will not be 100% the only people there. They will mix with the other groups. They will carry other groups along with them, because obviously for a clan to survive, they have to be able to fight. Now, when it comes to fighting, they don't choose, are you from this clan, are you from the next clan? They choose, are you able to fight for us or not? So that's what they do. They will take fighters, they will take men from other clans to come and help them in times of war, but they will be the majority. So, yes, there's a locative reason, or there's a locative element where they have to be by themselves to sort of like solidify their clan name. So, yes, clans were organized by location, uh, because they kind of had to, to have for the leader to practice his authority, he kind of had to separate the people from the senior royal houses, because that's the main reason why clans form. The senior house doesn't need, they don't have a reason to break out. The senior ruling line, they don't need to break away. Look at them, they are always here. They're staying, they're keeping the line, and then they move this side. This guy continues the line. He continues the line. To this day, it's this line that's ruling. To this day, it's this line. If you go to Emampondo, and all of those people, their surnames are Sitao, Sitao, Sitao. Anyway, so there's, yeah, that element of clans do live by themselves, but they can't live alone because they have to marry, they have to trade. You understand? But they have to be the majority. So in some places in the Eastern Cape to this day, that's still the case. You go to Ekofimvaba, you find that in this village, majority of the people are from the Gcina clan, the clan of Steve Biko. It's still like that. You go to Ekofimvaba, still, there's even a village called Emamfenene, the place of Amamfene, literally my clan. There's literally a village called that, Emamfenene. There's a village called Emakuzeni. Amakuze, they are the Dlaminis of Sibalukulu. It's called Emakuzeni because that they were the majority. But when you get there, you realize not everyone is Amakuze. But you find that the founders of the village were Amakuze, or the land was given by the king to Amakuze. So yes, it's never always 100% because they have to mate with other people. They have to marry with other people. They have to trade with other people. They can't really put themselves aside. Now, they may have a name for themselves altogether, a name that unifies them. Although they're not necessarily from the same clan, but they will have a name that unifies them. And this is where our modern nations then come from. AmaXhosa, it's a name that unifies all these different clans. AmaZulu, it's a name that unifies all these different clans. Bapedi, it's a name, but you find that these people are not really Bapedi. They are not really AmaZulu. They're not really AmaXhosa, most of them. But the name makes sense because it unifies all these people. Understand? So I think that's the best answer I can give. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. Thank
Lungwa?
you so much.
Thank you, sir. Morning, guys. Welcome. So I thought today, firstly, guys, this session is going to be uploaded online. I'm going to upload it on YouTube. This is one of the few sessions I'm going to upload because I tried to acquire the video of the live I had done with Unala, Uhlubi, Ulukanya. I is unable to send it the way I would have wanted it. So I'm going to be sharing this maybe sometime later this week. I want to talk about the profile, the genetic and phenotypical profile of what you would call a typical South African look, or perhaps I would say a dominant South African look. I would say a dominant South African look, maybe not typical in some areas and not in others. Now, I don't agree with everything that is in these things, you know. I have my own reservations. I'm very careful of generalizations of looks because I know those things are not real. But I'm gonna work with what we have until we start to create our own things. I'm gonna work with these and then I'm gonna do a profile of a phenotype, a South African phenotype or a South African look that we can perhaps work with. So a phenotype is basically a cosmetic analysis. Uh, a phenotype profile is a cosmetic analysis of people, like groups in certain areas. Uh, we tend to analyze their phenotypes, the nose, the nose ridge, the eyes, the folds, the ears, for example, the lips, upper lip convexity, the chin, how long the face is, how short the face is, how broad the face is, the head structure. We tend to analyze these things to understand if maybe there's certain things that are common in certain areas. So I'm gonna be working with this for now. This is what people call sun. This is what people call sun, and this here is an attempt to kind of do a sunnid phenotypical profile. Now, I'm gonna say it from the onset. This is the most black South African look in comparison to this one, the strand looper. The sun is more black South African than the strand looper at face value at the very least. And then you have the coid look here. I see this in Xhosa, I see this in Tswana as well. They have a longer face. If you look here, the face is shorter. And here the face is shorter. But if you look here, the face is much longer. The chin is much more pointy. The chin is much more pointy. There's this woman here called Precious Coffee. She has the same face. She has the same face. If you notice, the pictures are such a bad quality.
My brother, I don't know if
Let's
it's
see if
my
something's gonna
side,
come
but
up here.
I think the display is delayed. Maybe it's the
You guys
network.
don't see anything.
Yeah, so you're talking, so we can't really see which one you're pointing at.
Okay, let me just stop sharing and then I will share again.
Okay.
Can you guys see? Just confirm for me.
Not yet.
Okay, it's weird. You see now?
No, it's not sharing at all. Wait, hold on. Yeah, now, no. Can you please just move your mouse cursor and you can see?
Mouse cursor from where?
No, just move your
Oh,
mouse.
So,
you want to see if it's moving? I'm
yeah.
Yes.
moving it now. Can you see?
It's
No,
not.
it's
So
not
what's on the
moving.
It's
page?
Now
delayed.
it is. Now it is moving.
It's just a bit delayed.
It's moving
Okay.
on my side.
Why wanna?
Mm,
Mm,
It is
let me
moving,
just
ne?
cancel this
But
upload.
it's like delayed
okay,
and
I can see the delay now.
Okay, it's fine. I'm thinking because I'm uploading a video there in the background. I'm gonna try and refresh again and then because I need you guys to see this. That's the whole point.
Okay.
Let
Not
me
Jabon.
just. I'm gonna. Does the mic is the cursor moving on your side, guys?
I keep on.
Okay,
Can't see it.
it's fine. I'll drop just now.
I
I'll
don't.
drop and then I'll join again. It's fine. I'm back. I'm gonna try again. Second attempt. Just confirm for me that you guys can see and what you see exactly on the screen.
I'm seeing the calendar.
Okay, and then how's the cursor moving?
Okay, it's a bit better.
Moving fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Okay, and then what do you see now?
Google Chrome.
Okay, what do you see now?
Precious.
Precious.
Oh, very well, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as you guys see like slow, anything moving slow, just let me know. So this
Okay.
is a Xhosa woman. She has that face profile that I would call the Kwemana speaking. So I don't like titles like Koi Koi because those things are not real, you know. But the Kwemana speaking communities, for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, they are the ones who tend to display a longer face. If you see a brother Urwa Kauseb, his face is long. It's not round. It's long like this. There's a much pointier chin. This is the face you see amongst a significant amount of Botswana. For example, you look at Connie Ferguson. I don't want to know her age, man. Just want the face. They have this longer face to them with a much more pointier chin. So she has this. So if you come here, you see the coicoid uh, profile as compared to the sunnied profile. The man especially, you'll see the chin is pointier, the face is longer. This is the same face you will find people like Karabo and people like Precious. Even the nose, it's not as broad as perhaps you'd find this nose to be in some instances. The Kui nose is as broad as sometimes it looks like Ramaphosa's nose, especially by if you look at the Kung people and the core people, sometimes they've got that Ramaphosa nose, that Limpopo nose, you see. So let's start here now. What are the features we're going to look at? We're going to start here and then we'll go deeper. This one is a hunter-gatherer population. They've got um, a significant amount of dry weather adaptation. The eye folds are sometimes used as an obvious de facto feature to say these people must have lived in a sandy area or in areas with bright, because the sand is bright in color. So it tends to reflect more. So the face over time adjusts and develops folds. This could be different types of folds, epicanthic folds, or other monoliths and all that, so that the eyes can slant easy. The eyes can slant easy. If you look at these eyes, they very. It's like someone is slanting your eyes, like ungwene amehlo. So they're usually elements that you find amongst people who would live in bright surface areas, even like snowy areas or desert areas. This is something that will develop over thousands of years, not something that's going to happen in 2 years. You see it amongst the desert dwellers in the Sahara as well, and some of the people in the Nile Valley. Um, so it says they are short and the bodies are lean. The women, some of them show steatopedia. I'll come back to steatopedia. The skin is yellow reddish, brown, often wrinkled, and there's pepper.
Uh, I don't know
Not
if you're
sure if it's
talking.
me, but I can't hear Sandile anymore.
Yeah, same.
Hello,
Okay, so
can
you
you
were saying
hear?
this. Now I can hear
Yeah,
you,
it's
but then
back
you got
now.
stuck by the peppercorn hair.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I was still there. I was still there. Can you still see everything?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so there's peppercorn hair. That's actually where I was. And I'll go in detail. I'm just reading. The nose is very wide. And this is the so-called Bushman, by the way, guys, that we're talking about. This is not a typical look, or this is not the only look. Let me put it like that. But this look definitely reminds me of my father, especially this one, this side. Very much looks like my father, like very much. They've got eye folds that are very frequent, and the skull is medium long to long low, hardly prognathous. Prognathy is protrusion of the skull. I'll talk about it. Compared to similar chords, sanids are shorter, more infantile, shorter faced. As I did say, you see that short face of Olomisa and who's this guy? Who's this criminal policeman? And even the policeman who reported the criminal policeman. Help me, guys.
The Msimang people. Msimang, what's his name?
These guys in the Madanga Commission, there's the two main people there. The one who reported and the other one. So,
Mkhwanazim.
Mkunu, yes. So this is the Mkwanas and Mkunu face. Senzo Mkunu, I want to show you his face. You will see he has the Bushman face. Nagu Mkunu, you know, this is a short face with a broad nose, folded eyes. Mkwanazi is exactly the same. Mkwanazi, wakwanhlanhla. Exactly the same kind of face. Let's see. I want to get a picture that makes sense. Although his face looks a bit more childlike, but it's the same. Short face, folded eyes, broad nose. Uh, this is a. You can even check Bantu Olomisa. Bantu Olomisa. This is the same facial profile he shows. His is even stronger. Bantu Olomisa's profile is even stronger. He's got this short face, folded eyes, flat nose ridge, and very broad nose. Very broad nose. So this is what we're talking about when we're profiling. And this head, where I'm from, we call this the head of a twin. Inhloko yewele. Twins tend to have a head that is very ugly like this one. But this is what you call the sun face. And I'm using sun purely because that's what Europeans wrote in this thing of theirs. So this is the so-called sonnet face. Now there's an interesting thing. They say that they have a convex upper lip. They have a convex upper lip. Now, convex means it's pointy. The lip is pointy and protruding. In isiXhosa, we call this umlomo ontshuntshu. I don't know what it's called in other languages, but we call this umlomo ontshuntshu. Now, this is exactly the lip of my family. This is the lip of my family. This one, it's pointy. Let me see if we can find someone with this lip. It's very, very prevalent in so-called San people. It's very prevalent. You see, the thing about the website, the web, the internet is so white. Like anything you search, there's always gonna be a white person popping up. Let's check something quickly. Let's check a criminal. Let's see what's gonna come out. I see they've cleaned their work. Criminals are also white now. You know, back in the day, if you search for a criminal or ugly people, it's always going to be black people coming up. But I see Google did their job. So a convex upper lip is basically let me just show a difference here. Uh, online resources are so poor. Okay, you see this 1, 2, 3. are definitely convex. And these mouths, these lips are what we call ntshuntshu in my language. Imilomo entshuntshu. This one is not very convex. This one is worse. It's my least favorite type of mouth. This one is the worst one of them all. The upper lip does not exist. Yeah, boy. So this is the convex upper lip in this one. This tends to be, the lip of the so-called sun people. It tends to be convex. Look at it. The upper lip is pointy and it's bigger than the lower lip. Um, that's it's not as strong amongst the Kwemana speakers and the Kwegwap speakers, you see. Now, there's this thing they did here. They called it the scoid, the coid profile. If you look at this, the stature is short, the bodies are lean, women show steatopedia, and I will still explain this. I'm just going through it now for context. Skin is yellow, light brown, often wrinkled. Peppercorn hair is common. We know peppercorn hair, most. It's the type of hair that we grow up with. As boys, especially, we explore this hair because we don't like to bath when we're younger. So we don't bath, we don't comb. Our hair is always peppercorn. Nose is very wide. Eye folds are frequent and the skull is long with some prognathy, which is some projection. If you look at this feature, you see here in Southern Africa, these features are there all over Southern Africa, but also Eastern Africa and in the desert, as I did say. As I did say, if you look, there's a desert here in Southern Africa. This is the Great Lakes area, an ancestral region of Southern Africans, including Kwemana speakers themselves, and also the desert, the Sahara Desert. So these features you tend to see them in those areas. So this is not a South African look. It is though dominant in South Africa. Like I would say 85 to 90% of the people who look like this, you will definitely find them in South Africa, some in Mozambique, some in Zimbabwe, some in Botswana. I've seen someone from Mozambique who looks like this. I've seen them. I know what I'm talking about. There are people who like this in Zimbabwe, in Botswana, obviously, that's not even a question, and Namibia. Yeah. Now, compared to similar, they are taller, blah, 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 blah. The heads are longer, the convex upper lip is absent. So their lips are not as convex as you want. Here's the thing now. These things are like blanket statements. If you're Kwemana speaking, you can't have an upper lip that is convex. But that's nonsense. Because Brother Urwa Kauseb is Kwemana, but his lip is very convex, like this one here. Even stronger. So do you understand that it's nonsense that if you're Kwemana, you must follow this thing? It's not true. And then here you have the Strand Looper look. Now Strand Looper would have been like proper Western Cape, Southern Cape people like who were like in the fishing areas. But these people are also like, you know, similar to the rest of South Africa. I could literally take a former teacher of mine, a former Xhosa teacher, and they look exactly like this. I know someone right now from where I grew up. His name was Peter. He's Xhosa. His name was Peter. He looks exactly like this. So to act as if this is just a look of strand whoopers, it's so dumb. For example, you see this, I see Lebumatos. I see, who's that lady? The Modise lady, Portia Modise. You get what I'm saying? I see Portia Modise, I see Lebumatosa. I need a proper picture of Lebumatos where we can actually see her phenotype. You see, she has those slanted eyes, inward slanted eyes, inward slanted. I see Portia. Her phenotype is even stronger. This one, hey, it's very strong, yo. So I see this. I see this. This one even is even stronger than this thing they created here. You understand? I see Evan Jim. I wonder where he is now. I haven't seen him in a while. You see, so you see, there's that nose, that nice South African broad nose, flat ridge, slanted, folded eyes. Mara, his forehead is another level, yo. But this is what they will call the quoid. Now you could go on and see the Kalakarid, you know, this is a Kalahari face. But already now I see who's this guy? Alostro. I see Alostro. You're telling me this is Kalahari? Ah, nah, I see Alostro, guys. I see a lot of the Tswana people now, a lot of the Tswana actors in South Africa. They tend to display this look. So it's the actors, you know, those guys that like to act as criminals. Those guys that like to act as criminals. They tend to have this look. I don't know why. May he rest in peace. But all the guys who like to act as criminals, they have the. And I've always said it. This look, it has to do with Basto Tabandabanje, guys. I don't know why, but I think it's that spirit of rebellion that our ancestors had. They never wanted to be controlled by Europeans. Yeah, well, they always had that
That's
spirit of
my look,
rebellion.
but Wamdimo. But
Yeah, this is the look of the Kalahari, and it makes sense because you know Kho people are people of the desert. They are people of the Kalahari, but also they are people of cows generally. So this is the look. So if you look here, for example, they'll say very ancient and distinct look, typical for the northern and central Kui people. This is Kui and Kha, basically. The Kung, that is the Jew and Hansi, that is your Kha people, Amajwaha. Uh, they tend to have this look. I'm not sure about these ladies. I'm not sure about them, but they seem to be from the same bloodline, if I'm correct. Because Mazaleni, we know it. It's Jwaha people. Yeah, but Mazaleni. So if indeed their surname comes from the Mazaleni of the Jwahas, then even they themselves, Yabona, this is Uwambakazi, and her sister Kawe. They definitely come from this bloodline. This is a very strong black South African feature, by the way. And I'm not even concerned about skin color. I'm just looking at the features because skin color is useless. You have narrow people, you have Kwe, you have Amkwe, and Kung, Jung Hansi, etc., etc. They have these features. And then maybe a last one, the Karuid. I like this one because it reminds me of people from Eastern Cape. They look like this. You know, in those poor areas, they look very much like this.
I was gonna say Free
So
State, Eastern Cape people.
yeah, Free State, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape. Yeah. So you have a few thousand remain among task speakers, Kham, Omani, Karechi, some colors, lots of culture display. Anyway, the traits are yellow brown skin, peppercorn hair, short, mesoscelic, or ecto, sometimes endomorph, sometimes ditopigic, dolichomesophilic. These are basically skull shapes. Uh, Depressed nose, wider than Kalahari, convex upper lip. There's that upper lip, you know. Prognathy is very weak. Pseudomongoloid eyes. I think these are the Xhosa eyes that I've seen. You go to Eastern Cape, you see those eyes. You see them here, actually. You see, they say this is the Xhosa profile, which I'm obviously in disagreement about. Um, how can you make a profile of a Xhosa when you don't even know who a Xhosa are? Um, you can't just take Xhosa speaking and then call them a Xhosa. But anyway, they say it's medium to dark yellowish brown skin with kinky peppercorn hair, medium height, meso brachyscelic skull. Um, And then the nose is strongly platyrrhine, flat nose. Prognathy is mild. The skull is not, the jaw is not very projected. Chin is sometimes receding. Slanting eyes are common amongst the macros. Slanting eyes are common. There's others, for example, I don't think it's worth looking at, but there's others like this one, for example, the Bachopi. They say this is the choppy Tswana look. They say it's sometimes mid yellow dark, medium brown skin, usually kinky, sometimes peppercorn hair. Rather tall, mildly brachyscelic, mesomorph. They have a full lip. Prognathy is modest. Pseudo-mongoloid eyes. So there's an element of monolid eyes and um, a bit of what is this? Folds in the eyes. The nose is flat though. I think maybe they've gotten this correct. It's one of the average looks of South Africa. Even this one, especially in the northern areas, this looks like Itumele Nkune, actually. And then lastly, you have the Mfengu face. Okay, I do like this. It's giving one of the average looks of the eastern part of South Africa, like some parts of KZN. I see this face a lot amongst Amazulu, actually. I see this face a lot. Even this one, actually. I like it. I like this one a bit more. Yellowish dark, sometimes medium brown skin. This is the Zulu Amamfengu look, by the way. Rather tall, often mesocelic. Lower skulls, plantarine nose, lips are full, prognathy is modest, pseudo-mongoloid eyes. Basically, what they're saying is that our eyes tend to have folds. Sometimes the folds are not as strong, but they're there, you see. Then this is Malagasy. Yeah, there's no point to check this. Okay, I'm happy with this. So these are general profiles, but I had a look at it and I was like, this is nonsense because, you know, I'm Sandile and I'm not going to be told by Europeans what our look is. So what I went and looked at is what I would call a much more reliable South African profile. So we're going to start with the head now. So I found out about something called uh, scaphocephaly. Scaphocephaly is a head shape that you find a lot in South Africa. It's quite common in South Africa, as opposed to the Nigerian head. Ours tends to be very scaphocephalic. So it has a much more projected forehead and a much more pointy back of the head. Now, once again, we have to deal with the fact that all pictures are of white people and we don't have picture tin on our side. So this is a case of scaphocephaly where the head is pointy at the back. I see this a lot in South Africa actually. In fact, I got a picture here of this head. So if you look here, this is the head. If you look, this is we call this tina inqentu in isiXhosa or inqonqe. Inqentu or inqonqe. I also got another one here. This is the head shape you will tend to find in South Africa, even amongst the women, but they're hiding it with hair and weaves. But even South African women, they've got strong heads like this, very tough looking heads actually. If you look at the skull, you're gonna see it's gonna pop up here. Here it is. The South African head. It's a very common head in South Africa. I don't know why the people who are doing these profiles don't actually see that because you know we know it. So we call this England, which is a very common South African head. And then this type of head is characterized by a prominent occiput or occiput, which is the actual Ngenzo itself. When it's prominent for us, it's a good thing. It tells us this child belongs here. Look at this. It tells us this child belongs here. there are some South Africans with slightly flat heads, I think, especially in modern days, but generally the South African head will be even stronger than this one here, even stronger than this one. And the South African lips tend to look like this as well. They tend to look like this. So if you see, this lip is called a convex lip, umlomo onchunchu. This is ingensu or ingong, the prominent occiput, and a convex lip. These are South African features. So when you talk about the South African look, you look at things like that. However, there's another South African type of head which has parietal eminence. This is called upondo in isiXhosa. We call this upondo. In isiZulu is called uhlawe or amahlawe. In isiXhosa is amampondo. In isiZulu is amahlawe. Actually, there's a friend of mine who has a daughter who has this kind of head. I'm just struggling to find like an actual picture. Ish, I'm not even. I can't even remember an actual person that I know, like a famous person who has this head. But I think Kawa's head, Miss Essay, actually is close to this type of head. It is actually close, especially here, because Upondo tends to be more sharp here on these corners here. So that's another head in South Africa, which has amapondo or amahlawe in isiZulu. This is called parietal eminence. So I did speak about prominent occiput at the back, ingenzu, and now it's parietal eminence, which is amaphondo, amahlawe in isiZulu. This is another feature of the South African head. And then South Africans tend to be dolichocephalic. They tend to be very dolichocephalic. They have a long and narrow skull shape. Um, for us, it's not a sickness per se. You know, this one is a bit abnormal. I'm sorry, but these are the only pictures we can get. So the South African head tends to be longer. If you look at this head here, there's a lot of people in South Africa, especially the men. And once again, it's hard to see the heads of the women because they're covering them. Especially the men, they tend to have longer heads. Unlike what you would maybe consider a typical Nigerian head, which will have a flat and broad appearance. Our heads tend to be very, you know, dolichocephalic. In fact, Nigerian heads are brachycephalic. For me, these are the things that don't make sense. You know, for people of West African descent, if you are of West African descent, then there should be features that show. These are brachycephalic heads. The West African one is actually this one and this one. They have brachycephaly that is like this and like this. And it's a very rare head in a South African, especially these two versions. Extremely rare in a South African. Where are all the West African genetics, guys? What happened to the West African genetics? Why are they not visible? Hmm? Why are they not visible? They can't just be wiped out from millions of people. They can't just be wiped out from millions of people. But we also do have a Khmer or orthochronic appearance. Khmer orthochronic simply means low and medium, low to medium cranial appearance. Cranial means the skull, low to medium. So some people may have like a more, yeah, yes, this one and this one. This one is chamaicranic, this one is orthochronic. I see these ones, but still we incline towards this one, the cranial profile. Ours is more like this one. This is how South Africans look for the most part, but there are South Africans who look like this. But here, it's gonna be very rare. It's gonna be those few cases. I know I'm probably more towards this side. You're not gonna see it now because I did gain some weight, but when I lose it, I'm more towards this side, and then my head is pointy at the back, and I have a bit of a skull projection here. I'm the full South African ambassador. I'm the full South African ambassador. Now, one of the dominant features in South Africa that I've observed over time is what we call usiba in isiXhosa. Now, usiba, the name usiba means a feather, a plume. Um, it actually is quite dominant. Mandela had it. Mandela had this thing. It's called the widow's peak. I think it's this one. It's if you look at the Mendelian genetics, Gregor Mendel, the father of so-called genetics, this is a dominant feature. Usiba. We also tend to see it in this manner. Let's look at Nelson Mandela. There you have it. When he was younger, it's much more prominent, actually. This is called the widow's peak. It is called the widow's peak. He had this feature. He also had this folded eyes. I'm still going to go and explain eye folds. He had a flat nose. He had a convex upper lip. So now, next time you want to do a South African profile, you're not going to be like, oh, South Africans are short. No, you go deep. You tell them South Africans orthochronic, and they tend to display long skulls. They also tend to have prominent occipits, and they tend to have what all eminence of masawe. They have a masawe and a map. From the head alone, you can have 5 different characteristics that you explore from the head structure, from the cranial structure, from the skull structure. When you talk like this now, these online wannabes, the messiahs of this world, the Igbos who are claiming stuff, the brown aboriginal, all those wannabes, they cannot argue with you at this level because they don't know what they're talking about. They just know that, hey, there's Gaten McKenzie who's pushing for us to become chiefs and we're going to take this opportunity. Go down the line and actually look at things like cranic profile, the cephaly of the head, the parietal eminence, the prominent occiput, the scaphocephaly. They're not going to be able to tell you what their profile is in their so-called communities. What is Gaten McKenzie's profile and in which community does he belong? You cannot tell because 1 minute he's black, the next minute he's colored, the next minute he's Sud, the other minute he's Japanese, and the next minute he's Bushman. You go to who's this other wannabe? Ubra Biza, Biza, Souls, Ashley Souls. He's not gonna what his profile is, and you like I Mara guys. Anyway, so the dominant trait of Usiba, the widow's peak, is very prominent in Southern Africa. I've tended to see this a lot here in Southern Africa. Umandela is the perfect species or specimen. And guys, Umandela is not Gibson Makanda. This nonsense must stop as well. Umandela is not Gibson Makanda. Mandela was a prince, a royal prince of Abatembu. I don't understand people. I mean, you may have differing view of him politically, but to deny his existence and say he was killed in 1985, it's a bit of a lie because there's a lot of evidence that Mandela was always Mandela. In fact, he was not even mistreated in jail, Mandela. Why would they unalive him then when they were getting along, they were discussing with him? It's just interesting to me that people will say Mandela was killed in 1985, but then they will also push the agenda that Mandela was seen leaving the prison, wearing suits and carrying briefcases. So which one is it? Was he killed in 1985 or was he going to secret meetings in the late 80s and early 90s before he was arrested? You can't have the same. You can't have both because they claim that he was unalived in 1985. That's why there's 67 minutes. And then at the same time, they were like, you see, he was a sellout. He was going into meeting with the Oppenheimers. He was housed in Oppenheimer's house. But that time he was housed, it was already past 1985 by then. So, where exactly do you draw the line in these lies? He was not unalived in 1985. He was alive. You could then say he was just treated better because the whites probably thought we could talk to him more than they thought they could talk to Usobuko. He was not anti capitalism. He was not against capitalism, which is exactly why Europeans loved him. He was not against capitalism. He was a pragmatist. And that's exactly why they loved him. Because capitalism is white supremacy. White supremacy is whiteness. It's Christian nationalism. It's apartheid. It's fascism. All these things work together, including communism. Including communism. Even the people we like today, like Chris Hani, when you actually look deep into their philosophies, you realize they are not what you think they are. Anyway, so this is not Gibson Makanda. If anything, Gibson Makanda would have been a pseudonym, an alias for an underground operative. Some people say Mandela himself was a spy of the CIA and he had the name Gibson Makanda as his cover name when he was traveling to other countries underground. Obviously, he had to use a fake name. In fact, my mother tells me they didn't even see Mandela's face. You were not allowed to see his face. But we can see a uniformity in his children. We can see a uniformity in his children, both the daughters and the sons. You can see the children of Mahato, like Umandla Mandela today, Undaba Mandela, and the great grandson of Mandela. You can see them, they have the same look. You don't even have to go far. Go to the Abatembu royal family. You can see that look. So this is not something that the CIA can just create. It's a South African profile. Come on, guys. And once again, I'm saying this is not about politics, about the actual human being who lived. We cannot deny that he was alive. He was a real person. Just because you hate his politics or you don't want him to be said to be the father of the, that's besides the point. All right, to continue now. So he had what we call the widow's peak, which is a dominant Mendelian characteristic of genetics. Now, when we go to the eyes now, remember we started with the skull and then I did the hairline. Now we're going to the eyes. South African eyes tend to have the palpebral slant. They tend to have what we call the palpebral slant, which is the angle of the line between the inner and outer corners of the eye. It is a normal human anatomical feature. But let's talk about the palpebral slant, and I will show you who a lot of us have it, or some don't, but many do. So to see the palpebral slant, what you do, you take the eye of a person, you look at the inner corner, you look at the outer corner. From the inner corner, you draw a straight line. From the outer corner, you draw another straight line. You will see the angle at which those lines intersect. If it's 0, that means the person's eyes are straight. If the angle is acute, then they have an inner slant. If it's obtuse, they have what you call an outer slant. So now, remember I brought in Lebuma Tosa. See, all you have to do is to just draw a line from this to this here, and then from this one to this. You see, here's the upper slant. It's an upper slant because they meet at a positive angle, at an acute angle. She has an upper slant, and this is a South African feature. This is a South African feature. I made examples with other people. I just don't want to use shady characters. But someone in one of my lives said, even, who's this woman? Sian Bougie. Someone made an example with Sian Bougie. And I went and had a look. You see, there's a slight upper slant as well. It's an upper slant that she has in her eyes. You see why I don't want to look at these people. They have very bad reputation online. I'm thinking maybe Oros Mampofu as well will display an upper slant. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about how his eyes look. Who's that guy from Karabo? Blood and Water. Yeah. You see, he displays an upper slant of eye. This is called a palpebral slant. This is called a palpebral. So you take this, you draw. It's very slight, but it's there. You can see it. So a lot of South Africans tend to have this slant in their eyes. Men and women. I don't know why now. South African people. Anyway, that's the palpebral slant, guys. My father has the backwards, the downwards one. Let's look at Somizi. Somizi's mother. Yes, yeah, and this is a proper picture now. I like this one. I like this one more. She has a downward or this outer palpebral slant. You see, the eyes are slanting downwards. I also happen to have this one. Obviously, it's not as strong as this mama here, but my eyes slant downwards. I took this from my father. I have a sister who's late now. She had an upward slant. We call this one the palpebral slant. It can be upward. So my sister and her daughter Tuliswa, they have this. There's a downward slant. My granny, father, my sister, and myself at home, we have these ones. Now, after the slant, there's what we call epicanthic folds. And it's very important that I talk about these ones. Epicanthic folds, you'll see it in what people assume is Chinese eyes, or Asian eyes or Mongoloid eyes. This is an epicanthic fold, guys. It's only in the inner corner of your eye. This fold here that covers the end of your eye, it's an epicanthic fold. I did a check on my eyes recently and I can see it's very small, but I can see it on my eyes. It's very tiny, but it's there. So I have a very small epicanthic fold and I've got a proper um, downward slant on my outer corner of the eye. So epicanthic fold is a feature of Southern Africa. Uh, you can see it here in these eyes. It's here. Here it is. This is an epicanthic fold. This is another epicanthic fold. Now this one is called Epicanthus palpebralis. I think it's an epicanthic fold that goes with a palpebral slant. It's an epicanthic fold that goes with a palpebral slant. So you can see the eye is a bit slanted downward in this case. And then, okay, this one, it's a little weird, but it's also an epicanthic fold. So these are the different types of folds. This one here, and this one here. Now in South Africa, you tend to see this a lot. Let's check Evan Jim once again and see if we can see his eyes. If they have a fold. Okay, I don't see an epicanthic fold in his eyes. Let's check Ngonde Balfour. It is there. It is not very prominent because I think it's because it's too big. Yeah, it's much clearer here. He clearly has an epicanthic fold and a monolid and a downward slant. He's got all of it here in him. There's an epicanthic fold, there's a monolid. He doesn't have two eyelids, he only has one eyelid, or at least a fully covered eyelid, and he has a downward slant. You can see it even here. You can see it even here. Let's check Usenzo Mchunu. Let's check if he has an epicanthic fold. He doesn't seem to have one. He doesn't have an epicanthic fold. It's not there. Because epicanthic fold is here. Here he clearly has a double lead, but the other lead covers the other one. So he doesn't. So an epicanthic fold, it's that. Let's see Entlambali. Maybe she has one. Entlambali. She actually seems to have a monolid. She seems to have a monolid. South African psychos. Yeah, she doesn't have an epicanthic fold either. Let's try one more time. Utato Hearts. And I'm just looking at different South African profiles, guys. It doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter how bright the skin or how. Yeah, Tato Hearts seems to have a tiny fold. It's hard to see because they put all this makeup. Very hard to see, hey? But you guys get the idea of what epicanthic folds are. It's the opposite. You see this one here, the epicanthic fold is the opposite. It's on the inner corner. So that's one of the South African features. But I do think that this is probably much more dominant in Black South Africans than the epicanthic fold themselves. This one, the downward slanting of the eyes, is way stronger in Black South Africans. And this is a feature of the Kui and Kong peoples, actually. After the epicanthic fold, we have eyelids now. We've got monolid eyes and we've got hooded eyes. I think South Africans tend to have hooded eyes more than they have monolid eyes. So monolid eyes, generally they will also go with epicanthic folds. Generally they will go with epicanthic. So people who have epicanthic folds, a lot of the times will have monolid eyes as well. Monolid simply means there's one lid. It can't, like, it's just one. It's literally just one. Kunzima ke guys ngoba ke kufuneka sijonge ama-China ngoku. Abantu abamnyama iifoto zabo azikho online. Kukho iifoto zama-China kuphela. Whereas you have hooded eyes. Now, that's South African eyes right there. Now that's proper South African eyes. They are hooded. That is to say, the eyelid covers the underneath lid. It covers it. Mandela's eyes are hooded. This is a hooded eye. These eyes are hooded. They're literally hooded. You see, this one covers whatever is underneath. And these are the most dominant Black South African eyes. They are hooded. They have a downward slant, downward pulmonary slant. This is it. This is proper stuff. Oh, Diba Madod. So you've got partially hooded eyes. Mine, sometimes they're partially hooded. You've got fully hooded. You've got eyes that are hooded at the outer corner, which we call the lateral canthus. We call this the lateral canthus. These are my eyes. We have the lateral canthus. They are hooded at the outer corner. Hey, they've got the ugliest stuff here. I'm sorry, I'm not going to continue with these ugly things. And now, well, let's go to lips now. We're still on the face. So, lips, when we do a profile analysis of the South African lip in orthodontic and facial aesthetics, the term convex describes a facial profile or a specific lip position that curves outward more than it is considered typical or balanced. So, we've got protrusive lips and convex lip profiles in South Africa. And this is what I call ubuntu bomlomo. We call it umlomo ontuntu. This is it. If you think about Israel Matseke Zulu, that's what protrusive lips and convex lips are. Let me pull up his picture. Israel Matseke Zulu. This type of lip, which you tend to see in South Africans, this type of lip, and the nose itself. You see, he's got that downward slanting eye, the hooded eye at the end. He's got the convex protrusive lip. He's got that pointing so-called Bushman nose. If you guys know about Hout Oma, if you know Hout Oma, you can see that nose. You can see that South African nose right there. You understand? You can see those South African eyes. Yabo? Those black South African eyes. Here they are. You can be proud, Black South Africa. You can be proud of your looks. Because your looks are a testament to your ancestors. Look at this. Who would deny that this is a descendant of this man? Who would deny that? Look at this. These are black South Africans, man. This looks like my family. Huh? Look at that head. There you go. Remember the head I was talking about? The head with horns. Amapondo. Here it is. Here it is. Look at this head. It has that. Look at this head. They literally have that head that I'm talking about. With parietal eminence. Look at the horns. Look at the horns. We call it amapondo. It's literally here. And this head tends to go hand to hand with peppercorn hair. Look at this. If you told me that this is my sister, Unongos, I would not say no. Looks exactly like my sister. If you told me that this is my sister, this one here, I would not say no. Come on, guys. You can't allow people to come and steal your identity from you. Look at this, man. How? How? Oma. Oma. These are our names. You know, Unongause. Unongqawuse is literally the female version of Ngqawu. Nongqawuse is literally the female version. In the Nongqawuse would be called Qawses. Qawses. Unongqawuse. Hmm? So this is what we're talking about when you talk about those protrusive lips. They are here. You also find them here. Look at the upper lip. It's bigger than the lower lip. These are protrusive lips. South African feature. Now, when you look at the face, there's a long face, there's a pointier face that you find amongst Kwemana speakers, and then there's a short face that you find amongst the Chwa peoples, Chwa Kwe peoples. This is where now the whole face of Precious Kofi that I was talking about comes in, and the face of Olomisa and Ngonde Balfo, that phenotype of Senzo Mchunu, that phenotype of Mkwanazi, you find it here. You find that phenotype. Now, the Ramaphosa phenotype, you tend to see that amongst the more northern, Kwe peoples, especially your Kung. That Ramaphosa phenotype, you tend to find it there amongst your Kung. Let me see if I can find a couple of photos, so that we can also explore that aspect as well. Well, people use things like that, man, to sort of like alienate people who will have that Ramaphosa look, but that's not true. I actually have seen a photo of some people who look very much like Ramaphosa, but it seems there was a very concerted effort to remove those photos. I've seen a couple of photos of some people who look very much like your Ramaphosa type. You see, these are literally calm people. These are literally calm people. But I want something stronger, something closer. Look at this. They say this is a bushman. But you can see this person can easily be Pedi from Limpopo almost. This person can easily be Pedi from Limpopo. So the whole thing about Kwe, it's not about being a specific look that that pleases a colonial narrative. That's not the point. We look at certain features here. Look at this. This is a kung. This is a kung. Take this person, give it to brown aboriginal. Take this photo, give it to all the people who claim. See if they want to be associated with this kind of look. They hate it. They hate it. They will only choose because, or only when it pleases them. That light skin, so that they can disassociate with the dark skinned people. Look at this. This is a Kung man in Angola. And you can't say, oh no, they're in Angola. No, they're Kung, Baba. It doesn't matter where they are. Even if they were in Tanzania, they would still be Kung. They are Kung people. Here they are. Here they are. Look, they've got that. They've got that Kung. Here they are. Just look at the nose. Look at the face. Look at the hair. These are Kung people. You can't reduce them now because they don't fit your narrative of how people must look. If you do that, then you are a liar and nobody should listen to you. This is Gole, and there's a Xhosa people, they have the surname Gola. This is Gole, this is Goleba, this is Ngabe, this is Shobe, this is Beita. Beautiful Kung people. And I want you to take note of their noses. They've got proper black noses, proper black African hair and noses. So the idea that, no, I've heard people, no, Kwe people are not black. Suka. I mean, they are not black in that sense because we are also not black. That's the truth. This is the photo I'm looking for. Look at this, man. You see what proximity to the Batwa of Central Africa is? Can you see? Can you see, guys, that there's a strong affinity to the Batwa of Central Africa, but also the peoples of countries like Malawi and Zambia. This is Kung. And I need you guys to go and post these photos. Tungwa, these photos need to be posted. And specifically where they look very black. You must not be, oh no, no, you must post the ones that look very black. Because they've been posting our people, alienating them from us. Hmm? Look at this. If you could look at a picture of Venda people from the 1900s and these people, you wouldn't see a difference. But today, if you take these people, you watch this photo, né? You dress them up nicely, and you take them to parliament and say, these are queer people. They're like, no, 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 guys, no, you can't be queer. It's so dumb, man. It is so dumb. And this is just one community in Angola. There are many others. There are many others, you know. Some are in Malawi, in Zambia, etc., etc. And so you could just go to this is UCT ibali.uct.ac.za. Just go to Blick's collection. This is a picture on a camp on the road from Kakia. Mukoni, I've always told you about Kakeni in Lesotho and the Kakia people. Look at them. If you go to Lesotho, you look at Banbakwa Kakeni and you look at this, you will see this is the same people almost. The same as Puti. There's
Absolutely.
Ote. Yes, there's Ote, there's Puti. In fact, maybe let me do a small breakdown quickly of these names. Maybe of the name Puti. Oh, actually, I'm not done. Sorry, guys. There's this thing called Stitopedia now, which is a feature of Abantu South Africa. It's a feature of indigenous people of South Africa. Now, Stitopedia is what we call Injiginjane in its cause. It's called Injiginjane. It's this feature here. This is South African women. These are South African women. Here they are. And you don't need to say much because it's a natural thing. You see here, Usiula. You see here South African women.
In our
That's it.
mind.
Exactly. Even men, actually. Even South African men. I've seen a lot of us. And in fact, here you have it. King of Squares, Baba. Zulu men. Wenzakalan, Hiralang. He likes that song. But this is the whole thing, man. You know, and this is obviously purely for academic purposes. This is a properly South African feature, and even amongst our men, it's there. South African men have got hips, they've got bums. Give them a bit of money, see them getting fat, and you'll see the bums coming out. You'll see the bloody bums coming out. Yabo. So this is not a thing that is because of engineering by the food industry. This is a genetic thing. It's a literal genetic feature. So if it's African men, you don't want to have big bums, then watch what you eat, man. Watch what you eat because you're gonna look like this. You're literally gonna look like this. Yeah, I know they kind of, you know, is another case of steatopedia. And this is still the case even to this day, by the way, guys. This is still the case even to this day. There's a short nopkiri. This one. It's very short, it's got a big head. In isiXhosa, we call this thing injikinjane, you know, injikinjane, because it speaks to this steatopedia. Steatopedia is also called injikinjane, and things it's short, it's got a big knob, like here. You see, this is like a knobkiri. It's like a little knobkiri. This is why we call it injikinjane in isiXhosa, because it has the same shape, especially the short one. This one here, you see, something like this would be called injikinjane because it displays this. So these, if you're gonna profile South Africans, you're gonna have to look at things like this. You can't just come online and claim things simply because it feeds into your political agenda of trying to claim land. You can't just claim things. You must have some kind of backup to say, okay, look, Generally speaking, colors look like this. Now I can even do a good job for showing colors who are descended from native South Africans. I can do a good job of restoring their knowledge. I've got more than enough to help colors. But to do that, there has to be a genuine need. There has to be a genuine pursuit of that and purely that. Not of a political agenda to claim things, but of a need to restore order into people's lives. Because when people are detached from who they are living in chaos. Look at Black Americans, you know. Look at Black South Africans. Black South Africans live in pure and utter chaos because they are detached to themselves. They don't have anything that regulates. They are a lawless people. They are a lawless people. Now, I wanted to touch on the name Puti. Mukoni, what is the name of a male goat in your language? Do you know?
Okay, let me remember.
We call it
Just like
impongo.
Poco.
It's pork on.
Poco. Poco.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Because the reason why I'm asking is because I'll show you something quickly. Mbongo, porco. Is it double O or just one O?
So
Or it
I
doesn't
would
matter.
say put two O's for, because we'll say Poco.
Okay. Porco.
Yeah.
All right. Now, in Kwi and in Kho, it's Mhoho. Mhoho is in reference to Puti itself. Mhoho is in reference to Puti itself. Te is in reference to the people. So it's Daika people, right? Mhoho is also the same word that gives us the name for a male goat. From Mhoho to Poho. Because that's literally what it is. Remember, we discussed phonetics and how sounds change. I did say that bilabial clicks give us P or B. Why P or B and V? Because P, B, V, and all that, they are pronounced in the same place of articulation, which is the front of the mouth. Now, when you use the diminutive form, or hoti, or hutsi, C is a diminutive, so this would be little antelope. This gives you pudi. Also putsi. Puti nsiphuti. Mbuzi. Literally, it's hotsi. It's the same thing you'll find here. Ari, Ari, which will give you the Xhosa badi springbok, which is badi as well. In Kho, which is also a goat. If you realize this is literally the same word from Oho to Hotsi to Ari, it simply means a small antelope because it means small. It's a word that literally means small. Now look at this. A daika, it's tiny. It could be the common daika, it could be any other daika. They are all tiny animals. A goat, hi man, what is this now? It's a tiny animal. You understand? Now, if you compare this with an eland, this is a big game, big antelope. And this is the origin of these names like impongo, hotsi, imbuzi, ahri, ibadi, badi. It literally means small antelopes. So the name of Baputi If you go to core communities, you'll find that it's simply Mho or Mhoti, yabo, which is people of the Daika. And this is what I wanted to touch on. So
Is it like, is it when you say this, it's like you're pushing it out. You're pushing out it's like it's like you're doing a kiss, but then you're pushing the air out.
Hote, no, you're sucking it in.
Hot,
It's actually pure kiss sound.
water,
Hote is the
water.
kiss sound. The kiss sound. So
The
do
kiss
the kiss sound.
sound,
It is
right?
moho.
Hot, oh,
Yes.
so water
Mm. Hote. Yeah. Hote,
or
which is
water.
basically puti.
Which
Yeah,
is,
bo.
yeah. Now it makes sense why we would call it pooty, because we are also doing a similar thing.
Yes. It's
Pooty.
puti. It's puti. It's
Yeah.
puri. It's
Porco. Even the way we push
yes.
the pork, yeah,
Yes.
porco. I get it now.
And
Porco.
also notice the place where the sound comes from, even in the click form. It literally comes, it's made in the lips, in the front of the mouth.
Yes.
Yes,
That's
it's
that's what I was trying to say. It's like mostly on the lips. It's like a kissing
yes.
sound.
hmm
Pooty. Okay.
And therefore,
Okay.
naturally now, when the sound goes through lenition, it will change in the front of the mouth.
Yeah.
It can't now from hote become hote. It doesn't make sense because
Mm-mm.
ho is further back into the mouth. What can happen though is if ho in a specific dialect it's pronounced as ohote. Do you understand? If let's say it's pronounced as ohote, now
Mm.
when the click is dying, you could end up with hote, but that would be like a specific dialect because the click when it dies, you are either left with these sounds alone, these ones, or it's replaced by a sound from the same place of articulation, but a softer
Mm.
sound, which is what happened here. It's replaced by a sound which is also from the same place, but softer. So poho, poko, pongo, it's all softer on the mouth compared to oh. In fact, when you say oh, your mouth is going to be painful compared to when you say po,
What?
like pongo.
Mm.
Yeah. So, uh, and this is the thing, for example, there's this word here, au, or, ngau, or, ngau, which generally means to pursue, to follow, to hunt down. It will, this is what gives you tau, by the way. Tau is also what gives you ndau, like the ndau people. In fact, in isiXhosa, in Kwi, a hyena is called ause. It's called ause. In isiXhosa, a hyena is called ingawane. Ngau. It's literally the same word. Now, if you go to the videos I shared on the drive where I speak about uh, naming conventions here and here, I address how se and ane are added to words. Like this would be monase for someone who's jealous, gambushe for something that's red, gagashe for something that's dry or bony. Uh, I mean, so many other words. I'm trying to think. Okay, it's fine. Ane would be nda ndane for someone who's dearly loved, especially in isiXhosa. Intandane, someone who's dearly loved from the word tanda. And then you would also have dingane for something that doesn't have a place. It's yadinga. So what you are noticing here, as addressed in these two videos here, naming conventions one, naming conventions two, the se at the end simply adds value to the word. It's not the word in and of itself. It just adds value. Just like the ne or ane. It adds value. Dingane, ndandane, because dinga is to be in need. to be in want, to not have. Ndanda, it's from to love. Yeah, well, so someone who's in need of love or someone who's dearly loved. For example, in Tandana in isiZulu, it's an orphan, someone who's in need of love from their parents. And in Tandana in isiXhosa, it's someone who is dearly loved. But the actual word is this one, Tandana. So ngawane in isiXhosa, ingawane. The truth is that the actual word is ngawu, which is a hyena. This ngawane is further, it's further codified into Sandawane. Isa Dawane. Dawane we know literally is a softened form of Ndau plus Ane. So you see, in isiXhosa, Ndau is still there. Literally, the same Ndau you find in Sesotho, Setswana, Sepedi, Tau, the same Ndau you find in Chivenda and some of the Kalanga Shona languages for a lion. What this simply means is to pursue, to hunt down. Awu, awu, ukungawa, ngawu in isiXhosa, ngawu, ukungawa. So I'm able to then show that even in isiXhosa, ngawu and ndawu are there. Just like ndawu is there in Chivenda, just like ndawu is there in the
And what's
Isindawu.
interesting is,
Hello?
sorry, I was saying like I I've heard this word before in Sizulu, Sandawang, but
Yeah, it's Andawan, the
mm,
hunting one.
yeah,
The hunting one, because sa is generally also it's explained here thoroughly here in these two sessions. Sa generally is added for a name to signify relatively higher position or strong prominent feature. So isa feature or similitude. So for example, I'll give you a word. The word is nuka, to smell or to smell out something. There's an old archaic form, nusa, which is causative in form, to assist in smelling out or to help people smell out, to help people smell out, to smell out for people. And the noun form of this verb would be nusi, the one who assists others in smelling out. Therefore, what you have is sa nusi, the chief smeller out, that is to say, censor of wrongdoers. That is what Sanusi is in essence. It's from this form ugunuk, which is changed into the causative form ugunus, which then is changed into the noun form mnusi, which is then added with this word here, sa, sa. Sa, if you break it down in and of itself, which is also still explained in that video, sa in the most practical manner, it's yisewo, yisewa. Hey, what am I writing now? Yisewo. That's why we end up with so. Yise wa a or wa, end up with sa. You see there, in KZN, you find people with clan names like Sotondoshe, So Shangana, So Madoda. This So and this Ane here, especially the Ne at the end, are not part of the words, even this share. So when you have an in-depth understanding of language, you realize that the actual words here are here. Even this one is just a plural form. This one, I'll just highlight it. It's just a plural form. You realize that the word is tondo and shanga and madoda. Now you can go and find out what tondo is. Generally, tondo means to extend, issue, like an extension of something. Hence the male private part, because it's an extension, it's a projection, project, and even child, like childbearing. Therefore, shanga means to move around, always on the move. Madoda is man. So you realize that the name Uzotondoshe has to do with someone um who's extended far and wide. This could be through childbirth, this could be through conquest, doesn't matter. Uzoshangana has to do with someone who's always on the move, you know. That so right there, just like sa, it signifies a high degree of, relative position to the feature we are talking about. Once you put so, it signifies a very high degree of similitude, high degree of characterization by this thing. Yabo. Uh, you also have it here, sampu, sampumpu. Uh, Now, when I was young, I actually saw these names. I didn't really understand. It also happens in the feminine version, actually. Nampu and no mbengula. Nampu. So sa is the same. Mpu is an ideophone. Ideophone for full, fullness. Mfumfu, mfumfu is for softness. Uh, like hairy or fluffy, or even like plumpy, plump. So sampu would most likely be in reference to big belly. So that would be a big bellied man. Whereas samfumfu would be big cheeks or full bearded, etc. Same thing with the lady. In fact, I grew up with someone Nampu. Now, these things are not necessarily gender specific, but we can use them. So we could use Nampu as a lady of big belly, like a child, a girl who's young and has a big belly. We are born Nampu. Na comes from Unina Kampu. Nina Kampu, the lady of Sampu is Yise Kampu. Sampu Yise Kampumpu. Unombengula. There's an interesting history about this word because you also find it in Amandebele aseZimbabwe. Amahlabezulu. One of their kings was Ulobengula. Ulobengula. It's actually Unombengula. But because they speak with L's instead of N, so they have ulobhengula. Ukubhengula in this sense would be to stab, to attack something. Yabona ukuhlabisisa. Ukuhlabisisa, it comes from the word ukubenga, to cut, So I would then say the one who cuts through. Perhaps we could actually have a look at it. We could have a look at it. Um, okay, I don't know why it's not here. Perhaps we could just do this. Go back. We still have time, so it's all good. But I want you guys to see exactly how these things work. We have to see how these things work. Ukubhobhodla, ukubhenyeza, ukubenza, ukubhenguza. See, ukubhengula nakho, to toss up widely as by wind, to uproot in a storm, to fan up a fire. Ay man, what is this thing doing now? I already found what I was looking for. Ish. Yeah, ukubhengula. To rout a defeated army, isivunguvungu sabhengula uphahla lwemunka. So to blast something out violently. If you come here, bengu, bengu, it means to whirl something like a whirlwind, like isichingchane or isivunguvungu. Ukuvunguza, basically. Ukuvunguza, that is bengu. Even the clan name abakwa bengu comes from that. Abakwa sivunguvungu, in essence. Abakwa sivunguvungu. This also speaks to people now. When people are rising up, like during the looting, we could call that it's bengu bengu, or it's vungu vungu, or it's wengu wengu. That is like the riots, bayabhengula ababantu. So imbengula, therefore, is that action of storming something and blowing it away. KwaZulu bazibhengula izitha zigwagwe. In Zululand, they rout the enemy and they are speared. Yabo zigwazwe, sorry. So when an army is going fast, attacking another army with that chaotic run, that is called imbengula or bayabhengula. But also the knife itself now, uqelemba, is called imbengula. So unombengula would even be usoqelemba, the one who carries uqelemba. Like I said, the action of stabbing even itself. Yabo. The action of stabbing or blowing away, like in isiXhosa, when you are upemba umlilo or ukwezela umlilo, like the fire is dying, you're going there to add more fire, and you realize, hey, this thing is not getting enough air, it's not getting enough oxygen. You have to benguza or pekuza. You have to benguza the air towards the what? Towards the fire. So ukubengula is an essence of a whirlwind. Storm up something. Rise up violently. Chaotically and violently. Also, imbengula is uqelemba, a butcher knife. So, ulobhengula, therefore, the storm raiser, chaos bringer, bush knife carrier. That's the whole thing behind the name. But you wouldn't understand it if you didn't know that it actually comes from this word, ukubhengula, ukuthi bengu, bengu, bengu. You wouldn't know it. So that's why it's important to go and be able to break down words. Perhaps even a step further, Amandebele, they like to call themselves Amahlabezulu. People think these guys are calling themselves Amahlabezulu because they are copying Amazulu. No, they are not copying Amazulu, and this has nothing to do with stabbing Amazulu, stabbing Zulu people. I know it's convenient to think that they're talking about stabbing Zulu people, but that's not the case. Ihlabezulu is a cow. It's a cow with horizontal, it's a bullock with horizontal horns, Let me show you a picture of Ihlabezulu. A young bullock with horizontal horns. Let's see what Nano Banana is going to give us. Oh, damn. No, I missed it now. It's actually vertical. This is not, this is another name, this one. Remember, we spoke about horns and horn formation and how cows get names. We also spoke about colors of cows. We're still gonna go further there. There's like maybe 50 more colors we haven't covered, or even 100. You see, this kind of cow is called Ihlabezulu. Hlaba is to stab, to pierce. Zulu means high, above. So Hlabezulu, it means the horns are pointing upwards. That's what the name of Amandebele comes from. Amahlabezulu. I believe it could have been a regiment, ibutho. Could have been a regiment of perhaps Umzilikazi himself, that ngamahlabezulu ibutho lakhe, yabo. But people think it has to do with stepping Zulu people. No, these are young bullocks with vertical pointy horns. That's it. And it makes sense if you actually look at this. It's literally pointing upwards. Ukuhlaba is to point ahead. Ukuhlaba is to point ahead. Just like someone who, when the army is gonna go on war, we call the army umkhosi. We call the army umkhosi. The captain of the army is called intaba mkhosi, the one who pierces the army. But he's not piercing the army literally. He's not cutting people off. But he sings, he leads the anthem, or ihubo in isiZulu, umhobe in isiXhosa, muhubelo. He leads the anthem, umhobe, or as Xhosa people call it, igwatyu, from the word ukugwaba. Ukugwaba is the action of singing and clapping hands, which in and of itself is a softened form of ukugwaba, the click form, to clap. So the man who sings igwatyu is known as Ihlaba Mkhosi or Inhlaba Mkhosi, the leader of army songs. Imihobe, amahubo, mihubelo. You guys are gonna fix my spelling if it's wrong, but I'm thinking this is probably it. Now,
In Bugolo will say Muhlaba Mokhoshi.
yes.
And that would mean like I am calling for help. Muhlaba Mokhoshi. It's figurative to
Oh,
call for the
yes.
army to intervene.
Yes, yes, that makes sense. Absolutely. That makes sense. We also call that when we are using a whistle. We say ukuhlaba ikhwelo. We are calling the whistle. Now,
Uh,
we have a form of songs known as igwatyu. This is mispronounced nowadays as igwijo. This is igwatyu. It's a song of war and triumph. Igwatyu comes from the verb ukugwaba. Ukugwaba, to sing and clap, which further comes from click, ukuqhwaba, clapping. Now, gwaba, naturally B changes to Q in its cause in various verbal forms. For example, ukuzoba, to draw, becomes zotywa, to be drawn. Loba, to draw still, to fish, becomes lotywa, to be fished, lured. So gwaba, gwatyu, I would therefore say it comes from a form, the passive form, gwatjwa, to be sung. Now, this has become igwijo nowadays, igwatyu. So it's a song of war. We've heard this thing, but my point here is this one. Intlaba, mkhosi, khuhlaba mkhosi or mhlaba mkhosi. It's not a literal thing of stabbing. Hlaba is to call attention, possibly by piercing the spear into the air as leading in song. So you pierce the spear into the air while you are leading the song, and the armies follow you in fashion as well. That is uhlaba umkhosi. Uhlaba umkhosi. That is what uhlaba umkhosi is. But it has nothing to do with actually piercing. So the whole thing with amahlabe Zulu is the same. It's not about hlaba uzulu. Anyway,
For
these kind of,
example, even
yeah,
today, sorry, even today, when we say call for help, we won't say bicha tusho. We say "Hlaba
yeah,
mkhosi."
yeah.
That's how they would say, like, no, now it's serious, like "Hlaba mkhosi."
Mm, hmm. There you go. There you go. There you go. So now these types of nouns that are formed by the combination of two words are called compound nouns because you're compounding multiple words. So in this clause, they are called izibizo ezimbali. Izibizo ezimbali in this clause. And these ones use little parts of speech. They use grammatical elements like prefix and suffix to edify the meaning of the word. And it's extremely important to understand where we come from, to understand how this works. Because unfortunately, most people have no clue now. I've heard people lying and saying soshangane means amashiya ngane because bashiya ingane, shiya ingane. And therefore shangane comes from that. But that's not true. Shangane literally comes from ukushanga. Ukushanga, which in isiXhosa exists as ukuchanga. In fact, in isiXhosa we have a clan, ochangisa. Changisa means to cause people to move and scatter. This is Changisa. These are Amampondomise, by the way, Zulu, Khudulu, Muba. Has nothing to do with Ukshiya Ingan. So people must stop lying. Same thing our people do when they forgot or don't know the names of places. They just place whatever they want, like Itegu. That is to say, in a locative manner, Eteguin. Someone is saying, no, it comes from Tekwane, but it's false. Itegu is a lagoon. It's a lagoon, an estuary, like Ikweba in its cause, where the river mouth generally is. And if you check Eteguini, the river, so Eteguini it's at the coast where the rivers are meeting the sea. So it's where the river mouths are. That's what Itegu is. Estuary, where the rivers meet the sea. But no, it's Tekwane. No, it's not Tekwane, man. Hey. So this is the whole thing about now. You can link now and Au with Tau, Au with Ndau, which becomes Au Se when it's a hyena, and Au Ane when it's a hyena. And it's a closer. We have someone called No Ngause. It's literally this word, Ause. And it's a closer, it's No Ngause. That No Remember, I told you it's here. It's used sometimes to add feminine element to a word, but not all the time. Like I showed you, Nombengula is a man. He's not a female, but he's still called Nombengula, or which is Lobengula. It's a man. So it's not necessarily gender specific, but it can be used to add a gender context to a word. Aha. So this is it, guys. I was just doing the physical profile. Now we're going to have a look at DNA. We're going to have a look at DNA. Firstly, the truth is that there is no such a
Before you
thing
go
as.
to DNA,
Mhm.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
How did we move from? I was looking at that word you gave us, clowny, to then like how did it codify to even goni and guni? Like, because for me the clowny is the part which I'm not I understand when we start going into the gona and goni, and
Mhm.
then eventually we move to goni, and then we get to ngoni, we're at the end. Like, but I'm not understanding how it moved from the clowny part into
Okay.
the rest of the codification.
All right. So firstly, now maybe let me just put this here. So there's in terms of vowel sounds, Tauni is not just one. There's two codifications that happened. There's the codification of the click consonant from to to first, and then and which also gave us you see. So it moved from it went to it went to and which also went to So from and then the vowel codification, it went from O to O. It happens. In isiXhosa we call this ukutabanisa and ukuguzula. Ukutabanisa is to combine. Ukuguzula is to remove. So sometimes when you have two sounds, I did explain it I think last time. A lot of the times some of our languages are very stiff. When we have two vowel sounds, we like to either add an extra syllable here. An extra syllable, like I'll give you an example. Here you have oh. Amaxhosa add an extra syllable. Instead of no, they add W and then they'll end up with ngau. No, ukuti ngau, sorry, which is the verb. Ukuti ngau, which is the verb. And then when it becomes a noun, it just becomes ngawa. The one who goes to ngau becomes ngawa. What happened here, we moved from a diphthong, we added um an extra consonant, and it gave us an extra syllable. Ngau. It's something that happens.
Oh, I think it's what I've been suspecting about also kumko and
Mm-hmm.
dumelang.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Yeah. I get you.
and doom.
No, it's the same
Do
thing.
me. It's
It's
literally because I was like, why are they greeting like this?
it's
Until
the
I
same
saw that
thing.
it's in the Dumelang. Ah,
Yeah, because duma is to make a sound in
yes,
agreement.
yes.
It's literally to make a sound in agreement, but to make a sound is ukuduma, ukuduma, ukwenza umdumo. We literally call sounds imidumo. which comes from the click form imigqumo. We still have gqum thina in isiXhosa.
Even I mean in Kutlando when they say Dumelang, they say kum ko.
Yeah, yeah. Even the kho basarwa, they say
Mm.
gqom. They say gqom like the gqom music, which is duma, like vuma. It's vuma in
Yes.
essence. Yeah,
Oh
like
wow. Okay.
agree, acknowledge. Our very first episode, actually, unfortunately, we could
With
not record it. But our
Kumko.
very,
Okay.
very first episode, the guys were there. No, I actually spoke about greetings. I explained that when you greet, all you are saying, you are asking the other person to
To
acknowledge.
agree. Yes.
Yes, that's what you're saying. Agree that Baba, there's no enmity between us. So gom and kum, what you're saying there is that make a sound in agreement, produce sound that I confirm we have peace amongst each other. So it's gom. They say that in Botswana, the so-called Basarwa, the
Yes.
Kho
And
there.
then becomes Dumelang with time because now you're no
Yes.
longer doing that. Got
Yeah,
you.
gum is doom. It's literally doom.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, we say it in Xhosa. There's people with names like Dumisa and Dumisani, but we can also say Gumisa. Like if you have a hi-fi music,
Mm.
like a loud music on your car, you can
Udum
say
yeah,
Yaduma,
Duma.
but you can also
Yes.
say Yaguma. Tina, we literally still say that Yaguma. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ah,
So
got you.
so Duma and Guma is the same thing, just like Ngawu and Ndau is the same thing. Now, I wanted to
Then
show
the
you that.
core part, the core part will be people. Lang,
Yes, yes,
it's the
yes, yes.
additions. Dume lang, lena,
Yes,
more. Okay,
yes,
got you.
yes. Now, let's come back to what we do. So sometimes when there's a diphthong is when two vowel sounds are together. We add an extra syllable to give that extra thing, to give it that extra syllable. We add an extra consonant to give it an extra syllable. Or we just combine them all together. So instead of ow, you end up with o. You get what I'm saying? Instead of cow, you end up with ko. Literally. So it's the same thing now in isiXhosa when you say uh, umntu is a person, ana is a diminutive, you end up with umntu plus wana. So what we did here, we removed this entirely, these two, and we replaced it with one sound. This is called ukutabanisa. We removed entirely this one, sorry, we removed you. This is called guguzula, and we tabanisad using w. So we end up with umntwana. So umntwana is no longer there, but it's umntwana now. This is the same thing you have in uni. Auni. Auni could go both ways. It could have been the Kauni people. Auni. Or it could have just become Oni. It could have become Kauni or Toni. Not Toni, sorry. Uni. Yeah. Uni. Because A and U, A dies. U is dominant. Oni. Oni. Yabo. In some dialects, it's Toni, literally. Oni. We see this especially in Sotho languages. Yabo. What is U in isiXhosa? It's O in Sotho languages because Sotho languages are much closer to this sound than Nguni people are. Nguni people, they don't like diphthongs at all. So they just remove them altogether and add a straight sound. Anyway, let's now explain how we move from the click C to the click K to the sound K and NG. Now remember the click C is a dental click. Sometimes it's replaced with the palatal. So sometimes these clicks are confused. This is why you have either a dry sound or a nasalized sound from C. So it can be like a hard or nasalized. Hard or nasalized. I'll give you an example. Sometimes you can write a child as os, which would be no, see, it's nasalized. But also you can write as oc or ona. Amahlubi use this one. Ona. It's hard, it's not nasalized. It's hard. This one is nasalized in ngosi because of the palatal click. When we codify it, it tends to be nasalized. In this case now, though, what happens is we moved from to within the Kwemana and Kunkia dialects. Within those dialects, you have Oni, which has a cognate as Gona or Guni. So it's not even like Guni people who made this sound. It's not Guni people who made this. It's there in Kwemana and Kwegoav. For example, in Eastern Cape, we had Guni and Gunu. We had all three in the Eastern Cape. We have Gona, we have Guni, you have Gunu instead of Uni. All three are there. So it's already, because the reason why it's easy to change from C to Q, because they're in the same place of articulation. They're both click consonants, but they're also pronounced in the same location. Uh, 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 uh. The difference is that will tend to be a little bit, just a little bit back. You see these guys, even today, people who are in Gauteng, people who are in Gauteng will, instead of saying ngiyangqanywa, they will say ngiyangqanywa. Yabo? They will say ngiyangqanywa. But it's not nga, it's nga, it's NCA, but they'll use NQA. And instead of saying iqanda, they'll say iqanda. Instead of using Q, they'll use C. Why? The confusing thing between them is that this and this are pronounced in almost similar places, in almost identical places. So one is easier for one group than the other. And that's why it's easy to change from C to Q, or from the dental to the alveodental click. But now, between these two clicks, there's a voiced version, which is codified to G, and there's a voiceless version. Like you guys know, sounds are either voice or voiceless. And the voiceless version is codified to K. So instead of gona, you have gona, which is also what? It's also we. We haven't even gone to Venda or Tonga or whatever. It's also Kwi. This is Kwemana, Kwegwab, Kwedam. Instead of Guni, you have or Goni. If it's voiceless, you will have Koni or Kona. Yeah, now, where does the nasalization come in here? Is that whole thing between palatal and dental. When you move from palatal or dental, oni or oni or guni or guni, we tend to use nasalized forms. But also now, between, it's like a rule, between Sututswana and Guni Venda, we nasalize when we change. So what is dry in Sesotho, what is not nasalized in Sesotho will be nasalized in Venda. Like Tau in Sesotho will be Ndau in Venda. It's a nasalization, it's a thing that happens in our languages. Sorry. Khosi in Sotho-Tswana, Pedi, for example, will be Nkosi in Nguni. So what you have is Koni or even Koma. In Nguni, it is Nguni or even Ngoma. Or Ngoni even. Or Ngoni, sorry. Yabo. It's Ngoni even. Ngoni. It doesn't matter because we know the Ngoni people, they are still around. They still use Ngoni. So it's a rule of nasalization from Sotho to Nguni vendor groups. You have Ngoni and Ngona. Yabo. So that's why Bavenda then will use Vangona. But Sotho speakers will use Vakoni. Whereas Nguni speakers will use Abenguni or Abangoni or Bangoni. Yeah, you see. So for me, it seems these ones, these versions are still available in Kwe, in Kui, in Goab, Kwemana. These versions, all these ones here on top, like Gona is still there. Kona and Koni is basically the same thing. These words, Kona and Koni and Gona or Koni, is the same word, literally, because it's the same sound. Remember, I told you K and G are the same sound. It's just the fact that one is voiced, one is voiceless, but it's the same sound. So you find that in one village they say Gona, in the other one they say Kona. But it's not something hard to understand. But this G comes from Kuni. That's why you have Gunukwa in Eastern Cape. Amagunukwe, Gonakwa. It's Gona, which is a form of Toni. And I'm explaining now simply from a linguistic point of view. This AU goes through what we call ukutabanisa, what I explained earlier. AU, it goes through ukutabanisa, it becomes O or U. Can I show you an example where AU becomes O? Let me show you an example. To my Zulu speakers, you know Ulundi, ne? How do you say at the Ulundi? How do you speak in a locative manner? How would you say it? At the Ulundi. Anyone who speaks Zulu, please help us. You are pointing it to someone.
Olundi.
Or
Ondini.
Ondin. Yes. What happened here? You have a vowel A plus a vowel U plus the name Undi or Lundi. A U becomes O. Isisekelo siyaduka. We are left with the D and then the locative suffix ni. Ondin. This is the same process that happens with Oni becomes Oni. Yabo. Because vowels, when you add U to vowels, when you add, especially A and E, when you add U, they become O. Excuse me, let me get some water, guys. Get some water.
Yeah, it's okay.
I've been talking all this time. So, yeah. So what happens is,
Can I ask
yeah,
you to just do one thing? It's very stupid, but I'm gonna screenshot this, so I need it to be okay. That
okay,
vagoni, you see vagona. Just
yeah.
put BA, or else I'm gonna fight with Vapiti.
Which one? Oh, forgot now. So do you guys use
Thank you.
I or E here?
E, but
Okay, it's the same.
interchangeably, we just say
Yeah, no,
vagoni or vagoni.
yeah,
So
no,
it's
it's the
like
same. It's the same actually. It's just orthography, but it's the same sound. Mhm. So normally when we add two vowels, you come with a different sound altogether. It could be o, it could be u, it doesn't matter. Now, this is the key here. This is the key because this is a transition within typical kwe kwadi and winkya ta linguistic continue. Ah. So this is the transition within the typical Kwekwade, excluding the Sotho-Tswana and Nguni Venda languages. You already have this. It's justifiable within those languages. It's just Gona people. We know them. We know even Aunin as well. We know them. So it's not something that is new, that is introduced by Vakoni or Vavenda, all that. I'm just trying to explain that you already have this transition within what people would consider the typical Kwekwadi slash Kwinkia or Kwita languages. Let me put Kwita or Takwi. These are your typical groups. Already they have this characteristic of changing from to to g to g. We're just continuing that, Tina, nothing more. We just have our own rules that when something is non-nasalized in Sesotho, it becomes nasalized. I made an example, for example, when you say komeng, in Nguni it's ingomeni. You see? So it makes sense when you say koni, in Nguni it's ngoni. When you say kona, in Nguni it's ngona. So vangona, vakoni, abenguni, sorry. Take a screenshot this one. Abenguni and abangoni. It makes sense because it's established in very other words as well. In many other words as well. This makes complete sense to me. So yeah. Is there any other question, guys?
Thank you so much. You know that crowd. Hey.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. What is the difference between Kauni and Kaunin,
Oh, well, Downey is much older, much older.
but of the same people?
Let me probably, but let me put it this way: Downey are core people. They speak the core language, so they speak Kok An, what we call Kok An. They speak Khotan. So you have Kauni, they are much older. It's what people would call sun people. They are in the desert. You have Katsi, you've got Hote, which I was talking about earlier. The Hote people, the Puti people. You've got Ngamani, you've got Khatia or Kakia people, and many others. These are typical because you know what we do? We separate based on language, not based on genetics. The Aunin, on the other hand, oh, the Aunin. So you have the Aunin. They speak Nama, but they could very well be Kau people. They literally could be, actually. Because if you look at the name is literally Kauni. They could be, but maybe they just went and joined the Nama people. You see? So if you come here, for example, if you come here and check, the Kaunin are also called Topnars, which means the top dwelling people, which is the same word in what? In Guni. Koni, the top. That's it.
Even Gasipedi, that's what it means.
Yeah. So what I see now is that the kaunin, same thing, which would explain the nasalization ngoni. The way I see it, it's possibly kauni who mixed with Nama people. Yeah, because the main difference is the political structure. The kaunin, they do everything like us in terms of chiefs. They've got chiefs, they've got cows, they've got, it's literally like Zulu and Xhosa. So they are probably the same way that we are related to the Kauni. For them, it's probably the same as well. Because we don't speak Kauni today. I speak Xhosa. You speak Sipedi. Someone else speaks Zulu. Just like the Kauni don't speak Kauni anymore. Yeah, they speak Nama. So that would mean then it's probably a group of Kauni who went and stayed amongst Nama, married into the royal family, because Nama people, on the other hand, they speak something very similar to Xhosa. And now this group, they have a king called Gunikweb, literally Gunikweb. And in the Eastern Cape, we have Amagunukwebe. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's clear, Gunu, Guni, Kaunin, all the way back to Kauni, which we say is the true original Koni. So it's like all the Nguni and the Koni and the Vangona and the Guni and the Gunu and the Kaunin will most likely trace their origin to these people. Yeah, so the Kaunin, they have a very elaborate system of kings and chiefs like us. They've got lineage, and the names are very similar to our names. I mean, you can literally say these are Xhosa people in a way. You understand? One of their kings is Gunikwebe.
So
So I would say this is a much younger culture than this one. This is a younger culture, probably an instance of this one. This one, on the other hand, hey, it's hard to find anyone who's Gauni anymore. No, anyone who speaks the Gauni language anymore. But they are all part of the core community, which we know this is Mfene, Banzi, which we know is Shezi, Kube, Lachi. We know this is Puti. All these are different organizations. Ngamani, uh, all these are different nations within the core speaking people. Yabo. Kakea. We know Kaken in Lesotho. Nyatsi in Lesotho.
Komane le ngomane le komane.
Yes, exactly. Komani, Omani. And they are related actually. These people are related to the Komani and the Oma in Eastern Cape. So it's like a cycle of related people. This is what I always say, né? When we talk about clans. I always say, guys, ultimately you'll find that whichever nation you come from, you are still related to the nation next to you, ultimately. Even if you are Zulu, you will go back in your lineage and realize, damn, I'm still Xhosa. I'm still Swati. So even here, you could be Kho. Oh, I'm a Kho. But until you realize Kho themselves, they don't differentiate between themselves and the Komani. You understand? And there's something I've learned over there is that they don't necessarily differentiate, which makes sense why even in the places where we are today, in Eastern Cape, you'll find Amamfen and Amakoma still stay together. You'll find Amakunukweb and Amachawe still stay together. You understand? Because if you go to Botswana, you'll find the Kho, you'll find the Chwau, which we know is Hichware or Hichwawekwe. So for me, I say again, based on the political structure of the Kaunin who speak Nama today, they seem to me like a version of Xhosa people, because Nama itself is like some form of isiXhosa in a way. Yabo. They seem to me just
so
like the Xhosa people are. Yabona, like it just feels like it's a polity that developed probably in the 1400s from an older population, which most likely be your Kauni, your Omani, all these so-called San people. Yeah.
So if we were to trace the language of the Kauni, the closest we can get now would be to just accept the Nama language as the closest we can associate with the languages of Kauni.
No. We have Kro.
No, I would say Kukan.
So
Kukan.
so we have Kro.
Do-
The language is still there. Let me just show you something. Remember, the Kauni are also part of the Kro people. Yabo. The Masarwa in Botswana speak the language. You see these people, the Masarwa, they speak it.
Yeah.
It's just that these people here, Masarwa, you see this man, they are known as Masarwa. They still speak the language. It's just that it's dying now. They are replacing it with Setswana. They tending to speak Setswana more. So the closest thing would be the language of the Masarwa. I've actually done a couple of videos where I'm deciphering Sisarwa. Maybe let's just do this quickly. Let's do this quickly. Let's just go back. Yeah. I wanna show you something. Because Kauni are not like standalone. They are also the same people as Khatsi and Khatia and Ngamani. They are all the same people. It's just that back in Botswana and in the Kalahari of not Northern Cape, but they're in the border basically of Botswana and South Africa. There they were separated into like these groups where you have Kauni, you have Khatia or Khakia group, you have Ngamani, you have Ngote, but they speak like dialects of the same language in a way. Yabo. So Nama is like the way I put Nama, I look at it the same way I look at Xhosa and Zulu. I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, Nama, Xhosa, and Zulu are all descendants of the languages of the Kauni and the Khatsi and the Khatia peoples. Yabo. These are descendants. Now, Nama, in a way, had been preserved much stronger than Xhosa because Xhosa seems to have gone through a process of erasure when it became standardized. Yabo. So here you have Gauteng. It's one of the languages, Northern Kalahari. You have Gauteng here. You have Ung, more on the Angola side. You have Kokung. You have Omani. You have Kau. You have Kupe. This is some of the groups that mixed with Sesotho, by the way, with Basotho. Kupe. But you have Kauni. So what you can do, you can come here, SIV, and search all the words that have SIV will be Kauni words. But Kauni, look at this. Look at this. Kauni is SIV, ne? Khatia is SIVA. Kikhatsi is SIVB, which means Kauni, Khatia, Kikhatsi is the same language. And then we have SV, which is Masarwa, which is the people of Kakia as well. So these four languages here, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what you would look for if you were gonna look for the Kauni language. Now let's do this. Let's look for SIV quickly. Let's look for SIV. For example, for me, this would be the language of my clan back in Kalahari, maybe in 600 AD. They would have spoken this. So I would look for SIVB, but let's do SIV quickly and see if anything's gonna come up. Yeah, I can already see one thing there. You see, it's loading. It's gonna load about 1,000 words. I'm sure you can go a long way. Okay, you see SIV, SIV, SIVB. So what I will do to minimize the search, I will put a dot there so that it shows only SIV specifically. And then let's give it a chance to reload again. There you have it. There you have it. Now look at this. Abe, ause. Abe is big. Look at this one. Acid Let's see what it's saying. My children are two. Remember I told you it's the same as ngane. Means ngane. Is the key word too. Mna and mina. It's So mina ngane asibini. Remember I explained guys. It's when we say ngamashi, when things are exactly the same or next to each other. Zime ngamashi. And in Xhosa we say ngam when something is next to another one. Zingam. So asingam. Abam omancane basicam or basingam. My two little ones. My little ones are two are side by side. That's what it means. This is kauni. Literally. This sentence is kauni. Asicam. Abam are standing side by side or they're standing in two. Babini. That is kauni. Now, this is hikazi. This one. SIVB. It's a man. Atia. The fire is far away. And then this is Khatia. He's with the father. Is father, which is Ndate, which is Tata. There's Tame, the name Tame, which Tina we say Tami. Tame tai tai aki. Hadami eta kwa. Tame tai tai. Tai tai is used for mother, by the way. Dami sometimes is used for children. That's why I also say the name Damara also means our children. The Damara people, it's our children. Tame tai
That's
tai
very
aki.
telling.
Yeah, it is telling. Even abantu. You know, when you say singabantu, it's called that word. It's from the Kauni language. It's from the Kauni and the Kati language. So the Kauni, when they hear you say ribatu, the Kauni are like, oh, they are children of ours. You understand? When they hear you say ribatu,
So,
bona, yeah.
is it the same as in the when you say a child or a baby in Setswana, it will be Mtwana will be Mutswana. Is it something like that, or like when you say
Ongwana.
Batswana, it means Bantwana?
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Absolutely. Oh, abatwana. Little
Yeah,
batwa.
because Twa and do it's been the same thing.
It's the same thing, yes. Like, yeah.
Uh-huh. So
You
that
do
means
know
it
that
means a small person like umuntu ana, umuntwana, umutswana.
Mutwana.
Yes.
Mutwana. Okay.
Uh-huh. Umuntu omncane.
yes.
Yes.
Because umuntu in and of itself is twa. The word muntu and the word twa is the same thing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Umutwana and umundwa, same thing as well. But yeah, you could do this.
I think
But
he means a little person. Mutwana. What do you guys call that in Sizulu? Oh,
Because
God.
yes, in Sizulu we'll say
Mutwana, a little person.
yeah. In Sotho they will say to meaning a person, or
yeah,
ntu
Mutu.
muntu.
Mutu,
Mutwana.
it's a person. So
it's a
Mutwana
person,
is a
and
little
muntu.
person.
Yeah, so as in since other people say twa, that means mutwa will be a person.
It's a
So
No,
person.
when
now
No,
we
you
say
it
when
is.
morwa. We say
Mutwa is a
yes
morwa
person,
as
guys.
son.
yes, so when you add an ana at the end, which makes it smaller. Umuntu, ana, it means umuntu, a small person, a young person, or a
Mutwana.
baby. Yes.
Ah, because we would call them barwa, ne? So it would be you're actually making me think. Mutwana. Why would we call them that? Mutwana, little person.
Yeah, maybe if
Because we call them
I was,
barwa, and barwa means our children or hawarua. Between those,
uh,
our sons. That's
yeah.
barwa.
So
I'm trying to
so
understand what's happening.
So I think he's
yeah,
insinuating that the
Mm-hmm.
San, right, as we call them, right?
Yeah.
The San, as we call them or as we know them, they are actually the children of they are our children because in different languages we don't call them. For example, Sesotho, we call them barwa. Ne? Others they say it's
Mm-hmm.
because ga ba rua or ba ruilwe, but
Mm-hmm.
others will say but like the direct meaning of barwa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Means my son, my sons. Right.
Okay.
That's the meaning of it. While you guys call it what mtwa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he is saying if you were to look at it from the Sotho version, which is
Yeah.
mtwa, then it's like the same as barwa or mutwa. Yeah, that's how I'm getting him. It sounds like he's trying to say we gave birth to maybe the Kaunin, the Nama people,
Mm-hmm.
as
Okay, I get that.
instead
But
of
remember
yeah,
now,
I think that's how he's insinuating. I might be wrong, but that's what I'm understanding.
okay, let me give him a chance so that I can interject.
yeah,
Brother, you can finish your point, yeah?
yeah. I'm trying to say, if you look at the word, there's a call coming in. I'll keep on. Let me swipe it off. Well, I'm trying to say that Batwa is the same. Twa is the same as Ntu. It's the same as To.
Yes. Yes.
Right. If it is the same, that means if I say in Zulu, since we're saying Ntu,
Mm-hmm.
Ntu means a person, just like Toa means a person, just like To
Mm-hmm.
means a person. But now, uh, if a person gives birth to another person,
Mm-hmm.
that will be that newborn will have to add an ana at the end to indicate that it is smaller
Yeah.
version of a person. So it is mundwana.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Twa, if a Twa gives birth to a Twa, which is a smaller version of the Twa, they will have to add an ana at the end, which makes it Mundwana.
Yes.
Mutwana.
That which
So
what you're
with that,
saying is Botswana then is in that context.
yes,
That's what you're saying.
yes, that's what I'm asking. If the Batswana are the children of the Twa, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right.
So let me help you.
They are the offspring, and they came as they are a group who are offspring of this other nation, which is Twa, and since then they became the Batswana.
Yeah, let me help you.
Okay.
We're not Torobalaisa Kawaswa.
Sorry.
I'm saying you're going to get us killed by the Botswanas. What are those groups about Huruks? Hey. But my seeing is from Bukoni.
So
Yeah.
you see, ne? Let me maybe put something in context here. You see, when you say Kro, you are
Right.
saying to. When you're saying
Right.
Kru, you are saying to. Uh, on YouTube, there's a series on my channel about the letter R, how the letter R becomes T in our languages. Yabo. This Ra here, you could take it as meaning ta or twa or two. It's for people. Dami is children. So Damara is our children, the children of the Twa, or the children of the people, you see. However, when we have Q, it also changes to T, like I displayed here. And I'm gonna answer your question, don't worry. I displayed here that Tau, which gives us Dao, ultimately comes from Au. Yabo. So what you have is Ko are people, Ko are people, Ung are people, Kwe are people, Wa are people, Tu are people, Chwa are people, Twa are people, Kwa are people, Kwa are people. Yabo. This is also Ntu. This is also, where's Kwe now? Did I put Kwe? Oh, I didn't. So we have Kwe. We have Kwe. We also have this as Kwe. Kwe. We also have this as a C Inku. U. 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 So what you are saying here is that Bantu and Batwa is the same thing. Yabo. It means people. So now, people who are initiated from an already existing people, I think the idea of birth it makes it seem like they're babies, ne? But how I would put it is people who are initiated from an existing ancient civilization, those who emerge out of that civilization would be the Chwana. Now it has two forms. It's Chwa and Na. Na now, when we go to Kwe languages, remember now, Na can be also L, like I showed you, Unobengula and Ulobengula. So in Kwe languages, sometimes they put Na instead of L, and L is instead of R, just like Tamara. Yeah, well, where did I put it now? Yeah, that Ra. You see that Ra, instead of La, they put Ra, which ultimately is a form of Ru, which we know is two. Yeah, well, it means person, man, people, etc. So sometimes that Na is not even the diminutive in essence, yeah, well, but simply like a group of people. Remember, we have N, which becomes L. We know it. Nombengula is Lobengula. Unodungandaba is Ulodvunganzaba. Swati. Etc. Etc. So what you have then is sometimes in Kwemana Kwekwap, in Kwi, they would put Ra at the end, but you could look at Ra as Na as well. So the Damara, do you know that another way to call them is Daman? Did you know that? Another way to call them is Daman, which in its clause is Ndamane. Yabo. It's Ndamane or Ndamani or Ndamana. Yabo. So I'm just trying to clarify the diminutive part. Generally, for groups of people in Kwe, they will just use a collective instead of a diminutive. Like Ra is a collective for people, children even. But in this case, the children is contained in the Dhamma. Dhamma means children, but it also means dark. But a lot of the times when Dhamma is used, it means children. But it also does mean dark, yes. So it will be the dark children, or the dark descendants, or the dark people, or our children, the children of the Ra, or the Ta, or the Ah of the people. So now, if we take Twa in the same sense, it would be Tware, which we already have as Yi Tware, or it would be Twana. You get it? That would mean then the Twana and the Tware peoples have some affinity somewhere, somehow, broke off somewhere, somehow. So now if you come here, you have the Chwa peoples, who are also known as Shwa. It's Shwa or Kwe. They are the people of Zimbabwe. Sorry, of Botswana, excuse me. They are the people of Botswana. They are known as Shwa Kwe. These are people who will stay in areas of salt or areas with salt pans. And this is some of their words. You understand? So these people, fortunately, you will find them in the same place that Botswana say they originated from. You will literally find them in the same place that Botswana say they originated from, where in the Matsieng area, close to the border with South Africa. So here the Botswana say they originated in, the Matsieng area. The people of Matsieng are these people, the Chwa and the Shwa. We are born. It's the Chwana or Chware peoples, sometimes also known as Kwa or Chwawu. These are the same people that we see as Shwawu in Eastern Cape or Dei or Chwawu, which are said to have been related to the Chawe amongst Amakpos. In Zimbabwe, they are Chwawu or Chwa. This in plural would be Chware or Chwana or Chwana. Yeah, well. So for me, it makes sense that even the names does suggest that, and the oral history of Botswana does suggest that in the Matsieng area, if they say they emerged out of the Matsieng area, that's what they're saying, that they emerged from there. So who are the people who've been in Matsieng? Is the Chwa people, the Shwa peoples. Who are the Chwa people related to? They're related to the Ngokwe, they are related to the Orikwe, they are related to the Tsitikwe or Tsiti. Tsiti or Tsiti, which kwaXhosa we call them Tinde, the Tinde people. They're related to the Golo, related to these different groups. Yabo. So Hicho or Hichware or Chwakwe or Chware or Chwana would be an extension of the Chware name, the name Chware. That's how I would see it. But a more convincing thing for me is the fact that the area of origin of Botswana is the area that these people occupy. So, in essence, that would mean the Yosuthu Tswana groups are not from the Middle East. They are not from Faro. In essence, they are actually originated here. That's what they are saying. But if they come from Matsieng, Matsieng is in the border of South Africa and Botswana. Where is Egypt in that? Why are they lying, Botswana? Why are they saying they come from long way from ancient Egypt? Mara, they say they come from Matsieng at the same time. There's two areas of origin of Sotho-Tswana peoples. It's Matsieng in Tswana-Tsatsi. Matsieng is in South Africa, Botswana border. Tswana-Tsatsi is here, just close to Mpumalanga border. I don't see Nile River. I don't see Great Lakes area. I don't see Heliopolis. I don't see it. I don't see the Mediterranean Sea. I don't see Sumeria. I see Matsieng. I see Tswana-Tsatsi. I see Botswana, South Africa. I see Gauteng, Mpumalanga. So they must stop lying to us. It's clear they come from the Hichware peoples and the Shwa Kwe communities that are there. So the Shwa Kwe communities, obviously, it's not just one group of people, it's multiple groups. Remember, these are small groups, you know. But they say they come from the land of the Koni, which we've just broken down here, that the Koni is the Koni. So where the Tswana originate from is where the Koni originate from. But Tswana are literally telling you that we come from where the Nguni come from. And that is South Africa. So my brother, I will say, if we follow strict uh, old linguistic patterns, Tswana, it's clear to me that it's just an extended form of Chware. That would mean, and that would confirm the oral history of Botswana themselves, that they come from that area that is occupied by the Shwawukwe, the Shwakwe, and all the other groups. This is the similar thing we see amongst Xhosa groups. Let me show you something. Amongst Xhosa groups, for example, you see Amantinde. Here it is, Chitikwe. In Eastern Cape, we see Abeshwawu. Here it is, Chwau. Look at this. Here it is. Chwau. Chwa. Chwa. Chwau. In fact, if you take it a bit further, you find another language. Where is it now? I saw it somewhere here. It was somewhere here. The Tsicha language. Where is it? Let's see if it's this side. Yeah, I don't see it now. I saw it somewhere. But the Tsicha language is speaking to the Xhosa people, Amaqicha, as well, which you've spoken about. Okay, I don't see the Tsicha language. But anyway, the point is that where these people are and where the Tswana say they originate from, it checks. And Chware literally means the Chwa peoples. This is it. Chware. It means the Chwa peoples. We can check it here in the book, by the way. We could come and check here in the book, in the dictionary. I don't know. It's malfunctioning now. Let's come here. See. Okay. Yeah. Let's check people. Let's check people. Let's see what's gonna give us. See, when you ask for people, look at what it gives you. It gives you chu. It gives you cho. It gives you zhu. And then it gives you eh. Remember our coat of arms. Eh,
Even in
karate.
it gives us even kau ki eo. Makau, they always call themselves kakau, chavo, makau, all of them, bahata, all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is what our people need to understand. We can go further and look for person. Look for person. Look. Ata, da, ju, ju, caucho, ku, kwe, kui, that's a person. Ku, that's a person. Sha, that's a person. Cho, that's a person. Chwa. Yabo? Chwa. Even more interesting, unu. You know, almost in Xitsonga and the Shona languages, they use unu. Even the Isilala, they use
Uno.
exactly. Even in Silala, they use unu and vanu. You see it here. It's here. And umju. This is ru. In isiXhosa, when we use the hlonipho, we call umtu umju. We avoid tu. We say ju. We say ju. And then you have ku for ink, the actual person. You have ko, you have re, you have ku, you have kui, you have kung, you have ha. Oh, these are different words that mean a person. And we could find even more if we go. You see, there's like 100 and something where they mention the word for person. If you go into the sentences, you'll find even more words. So this chwa, now, when you pluralize it, or you say peoples, you put re or chwa re or chwa n, chwa kwe, the peoples. So either way, uh, chwa is in alignment with the oral history. That's for me, my brother and my sister. That for me is what gives me a sleep at night. The fact that whatever their oral history says, it aligns with the location of these people who are the Chwa. So if we say it's the Chwa descendants, I agree. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. Same way the Chwa themselves, the Tswana themselves say they came from the country of the Toni. They say it is not me. We did it in the past few weeks. The Tswana was saying they come from the Toni country, which means they descend from the groups that were there before the Tswana. The Batswanas, they say it themselves. Before they were there, the Kauni were already there, the country of the Wakoni. The Bavenda also say it. Before they were there, the Wangona were already there. Hmm? So it's not us. People are saying it themselves. Another question? All right.
You were very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can have a look at DNA, there's this thing, Charles Darwin, human taxonomy. They've got Homo sapiens, and then Homo sapiens sapiens, that's us. And then they've got Homo sapiens idaltu, and then they've got Homo antecessor, Homo erectus, Denisovans, one of the European ancestors, by the way, and the Asian ancestors. We've got Homo ergaster, Homo florensiensis, Homo habilis, Homo heidelbergensis here in Southern Africa as well. We have Homo luzonensis, Homo rudolfensis, Homo naledi, South Africa, and then Homo neanderthalensis, European ancestors as well. These are the actual humans here, you know. So that means before humans, or in the early days of humans, there were other beings. And our oral history tells us that they call these beings were the first people. It's just funny to me when people like Brown Aboriginal claim to be the first people when our oral history says otherwise. Our oral history literally says otherwise. It says there were other people before us. You know, it says there were other human beings, and these human beings lived amongst us, but they died out because of the abilities they had. They were able to shift between being human and being other species. That's not my. I'm not endorsing Charles Darwin because their stories were very racist. I'm not endorsing it. They saw us as mere, zoological projects. But anyway, so when we talk about human genetics now, there's something called DNA. Ne? DNA is, in essence, well, the name is deoxyribonucleic acid. It's the acid of the nucleus of the cells. It contains genetic information. It contains genetic informations. It contains this information in things called chromosomes. These chromosomes are organized in pairs, 23 pairs. 21 of these chromosomes are called autosomal chromosomes or autosomes. So in these 23 pairs, you've got 21 autosomes, and then you've got one sex chromosome from the male and one sex chromosome from the female. So out of the 23 pairs, one pair is a male chromosome, the other one is a female chromosome. A male in the sense that it comes from the father, and the other one comes from the mother. But if you're a girl, you'll have two female chromosomes, but one comes from the father still, and one comes from the mother. If you're a boy, same thing. If you're a male, you have two chromosomes. One comes from the father, which is always the Y. So we've got 23 pairs, 21 are autosomes. This is the autosomal DNA now. And then one is Y chromosome. And then the other one is the X chromosome. The Y chromosome now is traced from father to son because it can't be traced through daughters. Daughters don't have Y chromosome because they are not male. It's only the males who have Y chromosome. Y chromosomes, when we trace them, we call that a Y haplogroup. So there's haplogroups now. These haplogroups are basically ancestral groups that can be traced using specific markers like mutations. So there's going to be mutations that are shared within specific groups that don't exist in other groups. These mutations will be things that are responsible for certain things in those groups. So when groups then are separated, it's based on some mutations. That's it. It's based on some mutations. Currently speaking, the oldest genetic group, haplogroup of males is an African haplogroup. That was, well, one of the haplogroups, the old ones, was found in a West African descendant in America, a black American man. He was found to possess the Adamic haplogroup or the Adamic DNA, the genetic Adam. However, haplogroups are used what we call codes. So you have A haplogroup, B haplogroup, E haplogroup, D0, D1, all the way to O haplogroup. You have R, different types of R, different types of S, different types of T, J, I, H, blah, 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 blah. Of all these haplogroups, only 3 are mainly African haplogroups. D is not make sure, but only 3 is haplogroup A, haplogroup B, and haplogroup E, which you can see they're orange. These haplogroups all come from one ancestor, which is A0, which would have existed about 180,000 years ago. That's the available research. That's what it's telling us. This means that people in this group and people in this group and people in this group come from the same father at some point, because the mutations are shared from one father to son. They cannot lie. This is what I've been telling people, that, you know, it's funny because this thing is like your Kwe, Kwemana, Kwe, and Bantu. It's not real. People just use linguistic observations, premature linguistic observations, to group people. But you can't group people. Nature has already done that. All right. So now you have heard the thing that the Bantu DNA is E1B1A. But that's not true, because there's no Bantu DNA. There's Bantu language, which was created by Biek. There's Bantu migration, which was created by Blake, Lloyd, Green. None of these things are actually real. Bantu language is not a real thing, because it's a bunch of 600 to 1,000 languages that don't necessarily observe the same rules. I still have not found a single person who can come with one language that comes from, say, Cameroon, and put here next to isiZulu and show me straight. Don't give me 10 words that sound the same, or 50 words that sound the same, because I can use the same thing in English. I can find words that sound the same in English. I can show you that these words come from the same place, because they do. They come from us. I can take Latin and you'd be shocked. I can take Greek, you would be even more shocked. So it's nothing special when you take a language from Congo and say it sounds like this. Obviously it does. It's Congo. It's literally just here. What do you want it to sound like? You want it to sound like Indian languages? It won't, because we are in the same continent, close to each other. I don't understand how people think. You want the language in Congo to sound like what, Candy? It's gonna sound like languages that are nearby. Anyway, so you can't use language as a ethnic indicator, even worse, as a genetic indicator. So the E1B1A, E1B1B groups, you will tend to find them in South Africa all the way through to Central Africa. E1B1B, you tend to find logs, eastern coast of Africa,
Your
Zimbabwe
network is a bit.
coast.
I'm not sure if it's my network, but your network, or there's a network issue. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me? The other people. Hmm?
We can hear you.
I think
Can you
it's
hear
you,
him? Maybe
Mukon.
it's me. Okay, it's me.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll try and speak a bit louder. So these DNA groups, the truth is that, guys, all these DNA groups are spread throughout Africa, A, B, and E. That is just the truth. DNA tends to demonstrate the groups that you are living with. DNA is not something that cannot be corrupted. It's not something that stays forever. If you are people who move around, you will absolutely have admixture in your DNA. And the most recent admixture will tend to show up even more so phenotypically. Like, I'll show you something. You take on a black man who mates with a white woman. He mates with a white woman, they give birth to a mixed race child. That child is not going to look like a black person. But the truth is that that child was born from someone who probably had 500 black ancestors before her. 500 black ancestors erased within one generation, because that's how DNA works. It's not something you can, and like, it's not gonna be there. You were just born from a black ancestor and a white ancestor. You're gonna look half black and half white. So DNA records the most recent things, but it doesn't say anything about your true ancestry. You have to go deeper now into it. You have to look at philological evidence, that is the study of language and the origin of the language. You have to look at oral history, place names, mythology, and cosmological foundations of these people. You can't just say, oh, damn, you guys look like this, you're from here. It doesn't operate like that. Because if right now one of you guys goes and have a child with an Indian, your child is going to look Indian. But you find that you had ancestors who are black for the past 2,000 years, but they're not going to show up in that child. They'll show up here and there, but that's not how DNA operates. So that's one thing we must understand. So when you do a DNA study, you must look at more than just your sex chromosomes, the DNA from your mother and father. You must look at your autosomal DNA, go back in time, thousands and thousands of years. So this is why DNA haplogroups. You have A, you have B, you have E. A and B, you will tend to find them in Southern Africa and in Central Africa, as well as E actually. But E will also tend to be prevalent, especially in Central and West for the males. This is male DNA now. A and B is in South and Central. It also occurs heavily in Cameroon actually. A occurs heavily in Cameroon. This is the DNA that they will say is the DNA of the Abattoir, the pygmies. The DNA of the pygmies. So if you come here, and guys, this is not by any means a conclusive or exhaustive study. This is just an introduction to this. We'll continue with it when we go to our next lesson. This is how it operates. You have Y chromosomal Adam. If you look here, the whole idea of Y chromosomal Adam is that he is here in Southern Africa, in Western Africa. That's what these people are telling us. They're saying Y chromosomal Adam was a West African. Do you know why? Because the data that they have is from a black American man who has the oldest DNA. Where do black Americans come from? They come from West Africa. So what they are telling you with this data that A0 was here, was a West African man. He came from West Africa. He traveled down. He came here. He traveled here. East Africa. Another descendant group went all the way back to West Africa and gave birth to E1 and E1 B1A, and then E1 went back to Southern Africa. This is so-called Bantu DNA, by the way. Then, but if you look at this, it comes from here. It comes to Southern Africa. It goes back to the Nile, back to West Africa, gives back to E. E then comes back down to Southern Africa. But all the archaeological evidence suggests otherwise. All archaeological evidence suggests that Southern Africa is actually the oldest. But how will they know if they don't test? How will they know if Southern Africans don't go and do DNA ancestry tests? So this is the thing about DNA. It works with what's available. It works with what is available. So this group here, this A0 is the oldest DNA found. It moved to Southern Africa. It moved to East Africa. It moved to the Sudanic area and gives birth to E. That is to say, the typical black South African. Okay, not really, but typical black people in Central Africa. This E gives birth to E1B1A and E1B1B. E1B1B is what you would have from the Somalis and Ethiopians. E1B1A is what you would have modern day in West Africa and all the way. But let me tell you something. These people who have this DNA are actually hunter-gatherers. A0 and A00. It's not your modern day Nigerian. It's the hunter-gatherer populations of Nigeria. All the way down here. to Eastern Cape, all the way down. You still have this DNA A to this day. Even here, you see this B DNA. This is Cameroon. This is B. This is the DNA of the Baka peoples, the Mbuti peoples, the so-called pygmies. But still, it's based on what's available. It's not anything exhaustive or conclusive. If more people go and test, they will realize, no, it's actually Southern African that's older. Huh? This thing, they keep on updating it. I'm just explaining, ne? Yeah, Mukon.
What's then the difference between this A1 and the LOD1 that they say it's in the queer?
No, LOD is the female DNA. This is male
Oh,
DNA.
so this is the male tracking of, so it's like the other side of it.
Yes, so there's two sex DNAs, two sex
So they do
chromosomes.
find it in Southern Africa as well.
Yeah, no, it is a Southern African DNA. Remember now, it's one
Then,
thing. Remember, A, B, and E all come from A. This is A, ne? This is
mm,
B, this is E. It literally comes from the same group here. You have A, you have B, and then you have E. Sorry.
mm,
You have E. They all come from what they call the chromosomal Adam.
Adam, okay.
Yeah. So A is here in Southern Africa, it's in East Africa, it's also in West Africa.
So
E,
what makes the one from, I think the question that I'm asking is what makes
yeah.
the one from this African American different from the one down here as well?
Oh
What
no, it's
made
an
him
older.
the
It's an
oldest
older
one?
group. It's an older group. Yeah. The look at it. It's A00. A00. AM. It's A00. A00. This is AM6, which means A0 is older than AM. AM51 and AM6.
Ah,
Yes, it's much older. But remember, it's not the oldest, it's the oldest now because that's the oldest one that's been tested yet. Before that one, there was another older one, but they realized no, this is not the oldest. This is the new oldest now. So when they test someone else 20 years from now, that person will have an older DNA. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not a thing that you can use reliably to
I
decide
see.
which group is the oldest and which one isn't. What you do, you take DNA, you couple it with archaeology. Like you've seen in South Africa, there's more hominin species here than any other place. That's why we call it the cradle of mankind.
Yeah.
Yes, that's something that's you can. It's tangible. You can see. You can touch that. These are the skulls of ancient creatures. So perhaps this AM0, AM6, there's even an older one, which then will change Adam, Y chromosome Adam to Southern Africa. Then that will mean then E1B1A is from Southern Africa to West Africa, not from West to South.
Mm.
But even then, if you look at E, it travels down, it goes back up, and then back down. This is what we've been saying that the truth is that this comes from the same group of people who were just populating Africa. That's it. And A0 is not modern day West African. It's the hunter gatherers of West Africa. AM is not modern day East African. It's the hunter gatherers of East Africa. Do you understand? This is not, you're not going to go to Kenya and then call Ruto and say, let me check a DNA. You will find he's E1B1B. He's not AM13. But if you go to Hadzabe and Sandawake, and you'll find A most likely. Same thing that happens in South Africa. They go and test Desmond Tutu. They find, damn, there's some Bushman DNA right here. Yabo. And then if you come here, this is Bo Malawi, Bo Zambia, Bo Congo, Bo Uganda, it tends to be E1B1A. But it's nothing conclusive, it's nothing exhaustive. It's just an observation from these people. Black people need to study DNA more so that they're not manipulated. Well, you can't tell me there's a chromosomal Adam here, but all the skulls of the ancient creatures are here. So they're forced now to say Adam definitely came to South Africa. Why would he leave all the other places to come to the south? Do you understand? Like it doesn't make sense. They have to make sense of the available evidence here. So they must then say it started in West Africa and then came south. But why not just go somewhere like the most nearest place? Because look at how far this guy is from Southern Africa. It's literally in Senegal and Togo, and these are extremely far. Like, anyway, so these are the haplogroups that they talk about, that they test. What they're saying is that the origin is coastal central northwestern Africa. This is the ancestor of all humanity. Uh, Ancestor of all humanity. Then what happened is over the past thousands of years, and these are not necessarily modern humans, guys. We must also know that some of these are creatures that are not modern humans. That's why they have something called host DNA in West Africa today, because not all these things are human. So what you have this, and then haplogroup A. Let's go into haplogroup A and see what they have. Yabo, it's very strong in southwestern Africa and in the Sudanic area. But it's not here. But they said the Adam is from here. Do you get how false this thing is? Do you see how false the highest concentration of Adam is in Namibia and parts of Botswana? But somehow the place of origin only has 5% of this DNA. How? Do you guys see that it doesn't make sense to me? That the place of origin, well, it's not even the place of origin, it's the possible place of origin. Only has 5%. I suka call Londo up. I call Londo up. Even KZN, you see, Western Cape, part of Eastern Cape, they've got 33%. Northern Cape, KZN is 5%, etc. So anyway, so what you have, haplogroup A, it is a human Y DNA haplogroup, which includes all living Y chromosomes. I repeat, all living Y chromosomes. Yeah, bon. The bearers of extant subclades of haplogroup A are almost exclusively found in Africa or in the African diaspora. So the people with this DNA are only Africans, or the diaspora. Nobody else can have this DNA. Only people in the continent of Africa or descendants of Africans. That's why you'll see even in Madagascar then. In contrast with haplogroup BT, bearers of which participated in out of Africa migration. So the first original Europeans would have come from this group as well. They would have been the black people. This is a haplogroup of black people, by the way, guys. It's not Somalis or whatever. It's proper black people. Yeah, but even the black people who went to populate in Europe first, they came from this group. Yeah, but they mated with other hominin species there in Europe. That's why they were wiped out and they became whited out. So these are some of the branches that we know: A00, A0, A1, A1B1. Yeah, well, and then you could just have a look at which group comes from where. For example, the Tsumkwe people of Namibia will have 66% of A group in their male side. The Nama are 64% A group. The Dinka in Sudan, 62%. Shilluk, 53%. The Nuba in Sudan, 46%. Okay, I don't know what Khoisan is. Ethiopians, 41%. The Kung, 40%. Borku, Nuer, Fur, Masai, yabo, Eritrea, Bantu, 14% in Kenya, whatever this means. Cameroon, 14%. Hausa, 13%. Kwe in South Africa, 12%. Fulbe, blah, 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 blah. These are just people who have been studied, who have this DNA. Those who have not been studied are not going to have. For example, you see the Mbuti people of Congo are 2% of this DNA. People of Gabon, etc., etc. But I thought people of Gabon are only E1B1A. No, they are not. They have the A haplogroup as well. So there's no fixed haplogroup also. Let's go to haplogroup B and see something. If you go to haplogroup B, now it's more prevalent in Southern Africa and in Central Africa. This is the haplogroup of Abattoir as well. And I mean Abattoir as a full group, you see, including what is this? The Pygmies, you see Zulus there, 17%, Tswanas, 18%, Sotho Tswana, 18%. You see Shona, 10%. Southern Africa, 13% generally. Sandaweki, 15%. The Cobs in Sudan. You see Kwe, 28%. Tsumkwe, 32%. And then in Central Africa, it's 35 to 55%. The Mbuti in DRC at 33%. The Nuer in Sudan, 50, and the Hadzabe is 52. The Baka Pygmies, or the Yaka people, the Bayaka in Gabon and Cameroon, have 72% of this DNA. Do you guys see that this DNA you find in the people of Gabon, you also find it in Tsumkwe, you also find it in Zulu, you also find it in, because it comes from the same place. Let's go to haplogroup E and see something. I'm trying to show you that the idea of these fixed groups, that no, the Kwe are A and they're not B. No, they literally have all the DNAs in the world, just like we do as well. Somehow, the E haplogroup has no information on it at all. But it's the haplogroup they say, no, black people are part of, but there's no information. The other haplogroups, there's literally information on. There's nothing, there's no infographic that tells you exactly who has this DNA. Ah, these people are so crafty. They're so crafty. Mm-mm-mm. Anyway, E is E1B1A, E1B1A, 1A, 1D. There's a lot of them, a lot of them. There are a lot of these DNAs. Some of them are in North Africa, West Asia, East Africa, and Europe. Some are found in Guinea, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Gabon, Democratic. But, you know, this is nothing. This is not information. It's not giving us anything to work with. Hmm? Yeah, I see some data here. E1 EM75. We find it amongst the Hema people at 38%, amongst the Mbuti, the Batwa at 25%, the Zulu at 20%, Kenya is about 17%, amongst the Damara people at 6%, Namibia, the Ganda people of Uganda at 4%, the Mandika people at 2%, and the Sena people from Mozambique at 2%. These are the Lembas. Nah, they need more information here. This is nonsense. Anyway, my point is that if you look clearly, guys, all the groups that we were taught are different. They don't share anything. Somehow they all have the same DNAs to different degrees, but it's the same. It's the similar DNAs, just in varying degrees. Now, this is the one that is traced through the female line, through the mitochondria. The mitochondria, remember in primary and high school, we used to draw cross sections of mitochondria in cells, you know. Here the mitochondrion, a single mitochondrion. Here it is. You see, a single mitochondrion
This is when I knew this is
has
not my career. Science is not my thing.
There you go. You see, it's got this matrix inside, which is simply, matrix means mother or containing thing. There's what you have, DNA, the acid, the double hexical, the double helix shape, which in ancient cultures is usually displayed with a snake. Here you have DNA. This is where the DNA of the female is preserved in all of us. Now, this DNA of the female is known as mitochondrial DNA and therefore has mitochondrial haplogroups. This is our haplogroups here in South Africa. We have L0K and L0D. It tends to be found in most South Africans. tends to be found in most South Africans. You have L0. This is L0. This is Southern African female ancestral DNA. For example, L0 you'll find 73%, 79% for the Khun people, at 83% for the Khun as well in South Africa, and the Kung at 100% in Botswana for the Kung. So it's very strong in Botswana, this DNA. You can see it's extremely strong in Botswana. This is why the Botswana say they originated there in Botswana. Botswana is like a mother, some kind of motherland to most of these groups. Some kind of motherland. And then what you have is L0K, L0F, L0A, and L0B. All come from L0. All of them. What you also have is L0D, which is part of L0. I don't know why they don't want to talk about this DNA. These people are so crafty, you know. Some of the groups, they just avoid talking about them. This one is L1. It's L1. It's mostly non-Africans. It's people who are not from Africa. It is people who are not from Africa, mostly who have this DNA. Yeah. Yeah, no. L1 is mostly there outside of Africa. I thought they were going to talk, you know, significantly about Black South Africans, seeing that they've been focusing so much on them. They avoid them like nobody's business. They avoid them like nobody's business. Okay, so now these are sex DNA. What you then have is autosomes, which are basically the DNAs that are not sex DNAs. They don't determine gender or anything like that. These ones are a combination of your ancestors, both on your mother's side and on your father's side. They are called autosomes. Now, this is where half of your parents' bloodline is traced. This is where all the DNA from all the previous generation comes in. Remember, the two DNAs, the sex ones, mitochondrial DNA and Y haplogroup DNA, come from your mother and father directly. These ones, that's why your child will be mixed race and look all the way they look. But then the autosomal DNA now, this is the rest of your DNA. It's the rest of your DNA. It's called AT-DNA or ODNA. Yeah, well, this is it, a cross-section of chromosomes. Now, this is like, this is where you will inherit your great-grandmother's look. You start to look like your great-grandmother. You sound like this other parent of yours. But here's the thing about DNA, guys, if I'm being honest. If we use DNA to track ancestry, we are deceiving ourselves. Because here's the thing, without cultural context, social context of the people that you are trying to track, you will be lying to people. You will be lying. Let me show you here. Oh, this also touches on this as well. This touches on this. It touches on Y DNA and mitochondrial DNA. It touches on autosomal DNA. Though if you want to go and test your DNA, you could follow this advice here. But listen to what it's saying in terms of what DNA can tell us. It says no DNA can tell a person what their identity is. No race, no ethnicity. No DNA result can tell a person what their identity is. No race, no ethnicity. It simply points in the direction of ancient linkages rather than specifics. Where it's useful in South Africa and with colors, with San, with Xhosa, with queer communities, is that where there is doubt or people question one's identity as an African, then DNA as an indicator, together with genealogy, community, one's lived reality and historical, can strengthen a case. So you could use it just to confirm a few things. But we don't doubt who we are. We know exactly who we are. But if you want to find out if you have any European ancestry, you can definitely go and find it out. Because then you will see some haplogroup pointing coming out. You're not gonna know when that was. It could have been 500 years ago, it could have been 1000 years ago. You'll never know. Because this is a biological process. It doesn't have a formula that it must follow. It does what biology demands. So DNA testing is not something you can say, oh damn, I'm 40% Kwe. No, that's a lie. I'm gonna be very honest with you. You can't be 40% Kwe. There's no such thing as 40% Kwe. It doesn't exist. Because you come back 10 years later, you test your DNA, you come back 20% Kwe. And then 20 years later, you come back 75% Kwe. So which one is right? None of it. What this is telling you is that you can analyze the history of your people, the movement of your people, where they were, why there are certain mutations in your DNA that are linked to people that are in Central Africa. When did this happen? How did these mutations join in your ancestral DNA? Now you need to know within your clan, do you guys have a history with Central African people? Was there an ancestor of yours who was married into Central African communities? Was there a time you shared, like for example, right now in South Africa? We have a lot of people from Africa and Europe and Asia. 200 years from now, there won't be South African DNA. Like you can't say this is South African DNA or that. You can't prove being South African using DNA. But right now, as we speak, we've got more people who are not South African originally than people who are South African. That's the truth. When you look at the numbers of South Africans in the 60s and the numbers now, the numbers don't make sense. And there is no actual label that specifies that this is a black South African. No. The government removed anything that says native. When you go in a government form, there's nothing that says native South African. In fact, black people are not connected to South Africa, even at governmental level. The government does not connect you to South Africa. They put black African there. I'm like, what is black African? We're in South Africa most now. Why am I
And
being
it's so
called?
and it's
Yeah,
so confusing because if we were to look at the 1910 Act, it was very clear that it's the Natives Act, Land Act,
exactly.
right? And you could see that, okay, natives are being called natives. And then there's a distinction that what we call black is those who come from slavery or anyone who comes out from outside. They would be called colored, black, whatever it's called. But the natives were always called natives. And then now you start seeing a
Absolutely.
change in the 1950s with classifications that you start
Hmm.
seeing the identity black coming through, and then you see the pan-African movements also hogging on it, Steve Biko. And that's when you start seeing that something's wrong, something's
And
amiss.
you can go to any governmental document. There's nothing that says native South African. There's nothing that says black South African. You can go to any form, it's always black African. Black African. I'm like, why can't you just call me Xhosa then? Just call me Zulu. Just call me
Mm.
Pedi. Just call me something that I know. Don't give me labels that I have no idea. What is black African, guys? Isn't it someone from Gabon, black African? Someone from Sudan, are they not black African? You go
They're
to
called
Sudan.
black. Mm.
Yes, you go to Sudan, you look at their forms, they've got nothing to do with black African there. There they specify Nuer, Masai,
Mm.
this. They have absolutely no interest in this black African nonsense. So for me, it feels like there's an actual agenda to erase
Yeah,
any trace of indigenous native South Africans.
nativity. Mm.
Mhm. That you're not anywhere. And 50 years from now, I can promise you, the way things are going, you will not be able to prove you're native South Africans. Because even genetically now, the gene pool has been so diluted, have been so admixed. At least if there was some form of documentation, then to say, no, these are native, there's not even a census to look at hey guys, have you ever gone to a form that asks you for your clan name? There is no form that asks you for your clan name. In the South African ID, in the South African certificate, there's no section for clan name. But we know clan names are extremely important to us. But somehow there's no database. There's no database. The government has no interest in checking for those things. So how do you know who's South African? You won't. And that makes it easy for a government that doesn't want to lose power to get people to vote for them by just calling everyone some vague label of Black African and allowing anyone to vote for them. So this is worrying to me that people are starting to focus on this DNA nonsense as if it can tell them anything useful other than what we already have. We have clan names, we have oral history, and there are no databases, no servers, no archives that are being built by this bloody government to ensure that our surnames, our clan names, and the history of these surnames is preserved. For Europeans, you know, there is such things. That's why you will never be confused about where the surname Smith comes from. It's very clear where surname Smith comes from. It's very clear where Rothschild comes from. It's very clear where Geldenstein comes from. Gelden Hayes, Engelbracht. All these surnames, there's archives, there's coats of arms for these bloodlines. Europeans have invested in this.
Let me tell you, you're even saying Europeans, the Afrikaans here, if you were to talk to an
Mm-hmm.
Afrikaans person, will tell you that I know where I come from, even in like Dutchland, somewhere in Europe.
Yes, yes.
Like I even know which generation and which ancestor of 1,000 or like they know exactly. Like they'll even tell
Mm-hmm.
you, no, I was a Huguenot. I came all the way with the French, hence the Detroit. Like they will literally narrate it up until now they became something else. I don't know.
No, they are still European very much there. They can never play that game.
But
You
we
don't
can't do
change.
that. We can't even talk about that. Comrades will tell you that no, we are all Africans. We must just unite.
But here's the thing: in Zimbabwe, there's no such a thing. In Zimbabwe, Shona is Shona, Baba. Zezuru is Zezuru. Karanga is Karanga. Manyiken is Manyiken. You understand? You know, you don't get there and say, I'm African. Mm-mm. You don't do that in Zimbabwe. In Botswana, at least they're trying. Kalanga is still Kalanga, you know, but they're also missing it with the whole Masarwa situation. There's no Masarwa. Those people have names. But that's the thing, guys. You see, the whole thing of DNA testing for me, it's going to be used very soon to just put the final nails in the coffin. Because the system already, for the past 30 years, the people have become so dumbed down, so disconnected with their identity, they wouldn't tell you who they are. They don't even know where they come from. There is no government documentation on who's who. You know, the African government, how much
Mm.
they invested towards understanding who are these people. There's a book sponsored by the African government called The Origin of the Bantu Race or something like that. They've invested in understanding our language, they've invested in understanding our genetics, they invested in understanding our health. That's why they're able to convincingly say these people are not from here. And black people don't have a rebuttal because black people have such a gap in their understanding of who they are. They can't even rebut simple false statements made by AfriForum that you guys arrived in the 1800s. They can't rebut it because they don't even know where they were in the 1800s or who they were. Well, they will tell you, oh, we're all Africans, guys. Africa is our home. But you go to Gabon, nobody even cares about that bloody nonsense. They actually want to get out of the bloody country and go to Europe. Go to Senegal, they want to get out. They have no delusion about. They don't even want to be home. Go to Nigeria, it's the same thing. The Igbo are fighting for Biafra. They want to free Biafra. You go to Somalia, some of the Somalis are fighting for Somaliland, you know, and Puntland. And there's terrorism. Even here next door, Mozambique. Mozambicans don't give a damn about that nonsense of being African. They don't even want to speak African languages. They speak Portuguese all day long. I know a couple of them. And they're not
You
ashamed.
know, Sunday,
Mm.
you're actually like reminding me of just this week. Just this week. So we had a trainee, like a Stellenbosch student who came into the office,
Mm-hmm.
a young engineer, and he's an Afrikaans boy, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And he literally, I remember he said to me, you know, Marimo, Zulu people, they come from Congo, right? So I was so busy this week, and I'm like, I'm glad that you're an engineer and you're so interested in history. But then you need to understand history, like you need to walk in history. He's like, no, they are. I even told, I think he said some surname that was Zulu. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
he was working for us, and we told him, we're like, no, you come from Congo. And you can see he is genuine. This is not somebody who's trying to be racist.
Yeah.
There's somebody who is genuinely being convinced that this is so. I
Mm.
tried to give him a little bit of a history about linguistics part and the historical part, and then I said to him, look, I'm gonna buy you a Kamisa museum ticket. Go
Mm.
there, go to the museums, go to this place, because he's like, I've got so much information. And indeed, he has information about this Bantu migration nonsense.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
for me, it was how invested they are
Mm-hmm.
about this. But we are even convinced that indeed we come from somewhere where we don't come from. When
Yeah.
linguistics supports us and we don't think our clan names are actually they matter. Only when I sat down with him and I explained to him my own one, he was like, I guess it's just the Bagoni only. I was like, no, 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 no. I can go into all the other nationhoods. I can go, like 20s and Kasis, but I want you to walk through it. I don't want you to learn it. But for me, it was just I think what scared me is that this is the information that is being taught to their generation as young as they are. And this is what they're convinced they are. And we don't even know, like our people don't even know their history.
And the problem is, now they feel like they have authority to speak on indigenous people. South Africans are even afraid of calling themselves indigenous. They're so dumb. Nah, I'm no longer gonna be nice to black South Africans. If they're stupid enough to think they're from Congo, then they must pack their bags and go to bloody Congo. Let's get there to Congo and see who's gonna welcome them. People of Congo have problems that they are fighting for their country. It's being raped left, right, and center. They don't have time to be, following some nonsensical Bantu migration. And the thing is, this is the only country where the Bantu migration is a reality. There's no other place in Africa, all of Africa. Nobody gives a damn about Bantu migration at all. At all. It's only here.
But
Why?
it seems like it's legit it seems like in places like, and I've noticed this among the Central Africans and also the the East Africans, they tend to, before they can even call themselves, let's say Kabamba, they'll start first and say, I'm Bantu. I don't understand where this
No,
thing
it's
comes
new.
from.
No, it's new. It's new because if you read the oldest books about these people,
Mm,
these people in the 1400s when they were mixing with the Portuguese,
mm,
uh, you know, King Alfonso of the Congo people, there's nothing that talks about Bantu or even any relation to the near tribes. Like the Central Africans, they didn't even see themselves as being the same as the neighboring clans. That's the worst thing about them. The Bakongo did not see themselves the same as the Baluba. The Baluba did not see themselves the same as the Balunda. The Balunda didn't see the same as the same as the Bambundu. Yeah, but so there was not even any idea of similitude between these people. So there could not have been a concept of Bantu altogether. Secondly, the word Bantu does not even exist in these people's languages. Some of them use Watu, some of them use
mm,
Atu, some of you them Yabo, etc. But what I'm saying is that the only reason the Europeans were able to sell and buy slaves from them is because they didn't even think they were the same. Neighboring groups that literally did not even think
mm.
they're the same. So if you read the documents of the Portuguese priests, missionaries with King Alfonso I of Congo, he's literally selling the other tribes, and he's comfortably saying, no, you can sell them. He's even writing letters to Europe. When the Portuguese start to take the royal people now, the people of the Bakongo, now the king is starting to cry in the letters, oh no, don't take my people, you can take these other ones, blah blah blah. So for me, if you think you can take anything reliable from Central Africa, Central Africa, they are the most confused people. even more confused than some Nigerians, some West Africans. They don't know who they are in Central Africa, first and foremost. They don't care about who they are, secondly. They're just holding on to this Bantu thing because it makes sense for them. But if you go to the so called Bantu people, they are not necessarily Bantu, those people. They just speak one language for some colonial reason. For example, in Congo, you find that the Balunda speak, for example, Chilunda or Kilunda, and the Bafuliru next to them speak Kiswahili, but the Bafuliru did not have Kiswahili as a language originally. So it's just a group of diverse people together that don't know who they are. Most likely they are related, some of them, but once again, relations are not this uniform thing, you know. There has to be evidence for relations. You can't just say things are related when they are not. So how come that in the 1400s the so-called people of Congo did not even know that they were related to each other, but now in 2025 they are all Bantu? It's not true. They did not even see themselves as the same as the neighboring people. That's how they sold each other. Same thing in West Africa. The truth is that these people did not necessarily see themselves as the same. That's why the Hausa were able to sell the Igbo. That's why the Ashanti were able to sell the Edo. Yabo. That's how they were able to sell the Edo to Europeans, to the ships, because they didn't see them as the same people. It's like Amaxhosa selling Amazulu now and then coming to tell us, oh no, we've always been brothers. No, if you're gonna be selling your people at that scale, I'm not saying like groups don't fight, but at that scale, like millions and millions, you know, millions of people. That's like generations after generations of selling human beings. Now that's another level of, you know, craziness. So for me, then looking at their history and old written accounts, there's nothing that talks about Bantu. There's nothing that talks about some big group of people. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Even here in Southern Africa, there's also a thing as a Bantu. This thing of Bantu begins in the 1800s with missionary books and converted writers. So if you look at the Xhosa writers like Soga, he was a convert. He didn't even go to the mountain. He didn't even go to the mountain. Obviously, he was hot in Scotland. He married a Scottish wife for that matter. His children were mixed race with Tio Soga. Literally. John Henderson Soga was mixed race. And all the other, his children were the first doctors and nurses and veterinarians, etc., etc. So he's the one who starts writing now heavily about this Bantu migration thing. Um, you know, he's the one who starts writing about this Bantu migration thing. But the truth is that it was never there. You go to the oldest oral records of our people. Our people are telling you, Siphuma emhlangeni. Siphuma emhlangeni. We came from Matsieng. Where is the Bantu migration in Matsieng? No, Tina, we came from Tswanatsatsi. Our people are telling you, we came from underneath the ground. They are telling you we didn't come from anywhere else. So for me, if the oral history doesn't have anything to do with Bantu migration, then there is no Bantu migration, at least for us in South Africa. Maybe it was there for the Congolese, maybe it was there for the East Africans. But here in South Africa, I can say it time and again, I can go and defend this in court. There was no Bantu migration, and there was no mega group called Bantu. No group of people who call themselves, we are the Bantu. It did not exist. There was no the Bantu people. There is no the Bantu people. There will never be the Bantu people. For you to know that it's really a European invention. Bantu people is gibberish because it's people. When you say Bantu, you're literally calling out in public, like when you speak in public, you'd be calling out attention to the group Bantu. You're not speaking in the form of a third person. You are literally calling them direct Bantu. If you're speaking in the third person and referring to a bigger group, you would say Abantu. Now, people. But when you say Bantu, it's like you people. It's like listen to me. That's how we would speak. So already, like linguistically, it's wrong to say Bantu, and then you say people. So it's like you people. It's gibberish. It's like this other place in Century City called Intaga Bird Island. I was literally thinking about it this morning that Intaga Bird Island. Intaga is a bird. So this place is a bird. Bird Island. And that's how you know that it's a European behind this name. And we have to stop it. It has to stop. We can't just be a vessel of European delusion and we just allow this to continue unmitigated. We can't allow it. And our government is a very big participant in this nonsense of erasure that is happening to our people. Why
The
are there
biggest one.
governmental forms? They absolutely are. They absolutely are. Ramaphosa is an enabler. Zuma is an enabler. Zuma in his MK party, he literally has colors there as kings of Khoisas. Ramaphosa is giving them recognition because he doesn't want noise. So we have to stop this nonsense. You can't use DNA to trace ancestry. I don't care if it says 99% Kwe. Just know that it's false. There's no such a thing. Because there's no Bantu DNA, there's no Kwe DNA, there's no West African DNA. There's Homo sapien genetic mutations that can be tracked across different regions. And they can give a general idea of who you might have mixed with in the in the in your timeline. But what you do have is oral history, archaeological evidence, clan names. You have place names that you can use to trace these things. You've got cosmology, mythology, and folklore. These are the things you use to trace who you are. You can't trace who you are with DNA, even if it comes back and says you're 99% Kwe. It's not true. You can trace your oral history, you can trace your clan. Like Baswana saying they came from Matieng and they came from the land of the Wakoni. And you go there in Matieng, you see this is Oni land, this is Gona land, this is the land of the Vangona, just as the vendor are saying. Now that is something that makes absolute sense and there's empirical evidence for it. So why then in the government doesn't put native South Africans? I'm gonna create a petition. They must put natives there or indigenous. We were right to be called native because we are the native people. Now
Absolutely.
you can't even differentiate now. It's not allowed anymore. You can't say native because we were native and when they were Europeans. We were native when they were settlers. They understood it. And the government's like, no, 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 no. Which is why sometimes you think even the Ramaphosas and the Mashatiles themselves are not South African.
But they're
There's a
not.
thing that they actually are not South African themselves, including Bojulias, these bloody foreigners who are taking over our country now. Brother Lung.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, actually, it's a few things now I want to say. Well, the last
Yes.
part, so that I don't forget, is that also the other thing is like it's like the government kind of demoted us from being to citizen. I don't think if Africans, if Tina, we could be citizens and Indians and Chinese, that means we've been demoted in a way. We are equal to everybody else who has a mother and someone else, you know, landlord. Okay, fine.
Thank you
The
for
other thing
that.
that I wanted to say was that, actually, I wanted to ask um, this space, the black space where all the stars and the moon is.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me that that is called Ndu. Is it true that
Oh, no. Mm-hmm.
that there are people who say they come from since we look at the moon and the stars and the different how should I phrase it? Well, whatever the different times the stars show up, the different stars that show up in the cosmos.
Yeah.
We use those laws that say when you see Silimela, then we can plant. If we see this, this means we are using cosmic laws.
Mm-hmm.
This means there are people, the people that are here, they actually came from that space, from that Ndu space.
Okay. You want me to touch on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I can say is, uh, firstly, thank you for that. This is something that maybe you guys would appreciate. Is there something called Bantu DNA and Khoisan DNA? The simple answer is no. There is no Bantu DNA and there is no Khoisan DNA. That's it. There are scientific identifiers for DNA in the form of male haplogroup, female haplogroup, and autosomal DNA. That's it. All these will locate some regions in the world. In South Africa, we have strong L0D. L0D1 and L0K, which are markers originating in L0 from Northeast Africa and can predominantly be found among San, Kwe, Batwa, Mbengwa, Buti, Kalanga, and to a lesser frequency Xhosa, Tswana, Sotho, and other South African peoples. Do you see Kalanga here? Very important. These haplogroup markers, usually with other African and Asian haplogroup markers, also appear with strong showings amongst persons called colored. So there's no Khoisan DNA or Bantu DNA. Now, the thing of Ntu, so it comes from an old version of Nut. Nut in our language is Unyeti. Nut is a personification of the night sky, of the dark sky. It's a personification of the dark night sky. It's Nut, the cosmos. If you look here, this is black, it's the sun and it's the moon, and these are the stars. Maybe someday I will talk about what my opinion is on the stars and the moon. Because one way to look at it, you would say it's a map of some sort. It's a superimposed image on top of another image. It's like a time layer, the thing in the sky. The sky and the moon, if you really zoom deep into them, you'll see one is a zoomed in image of the other one. But that's for another day. So this is Nut, which is Unyeti. Unyeti in the sense of Tinkanyeti, the stars. And Unyeti, the moonlight, which only happens as at night. So that is Nut. On the other hand, Untu is Nitu, or Ntu, the essence of the organic body. The essence of the organic body. In some of the Central African cultures, Nitu also means the flesh of the body. But the very essence, the very molecular formation of the organic body is Ntu. And it's related to concepts like Nto, which is matter and essence. Into or Uto, this is matter and essence. And now the sky can be used as a map and a calendar of some sort, which we are using. We are born. What I can say now is that unfortunately we can't originate from everywhere. We need to be very careful now of these things. We cannot come from every place. If we say we came from Emslangen, which we've broken down as being the very Milky Way galaxy, we came out of the very Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy, the truth is that it's the galaxy in which our solar system resides. The Earth itself resides in the solar system of the Milky Way galaxy. If we say we came from there, then we have to have come from there. If we say we come from the Pleiades, the seven sisters, well, there is history that says either us or primordial beings came from the seven sisters star system. It's Limed. There is some oral accounts that say that. There is ancient history that says that even in other cultures, the seven sisters, Islimela Ingonde, seem to be a home of some influence in ancient cultures. Now we could go and look at the mythology of the Sumerians and the Babylonians. Many cultures trace some ancient origin, or at least the origin of some ancient influence to those places. I'm not going to say we come from there. I'm going to say, though, the night sky, the dark night sky is absolutely a map for us. I agree with that one. And it's absolutely been used as a map and will continue to be used as a map because it tells us times, it tells us old stories. Now, do we come from the Pleiades? I think that's something people should discover for themselves. I think that's something people should go and explore for themselves if they have origins in the Pleiades. But can we rely on the cycles of the cosmos to track time, to track cataclysmic events, as it was done by ancient civilizations? Absolutely. Is there an ancient link between where we are, the Milky Way, and the Pleiades star system? Absolutely. What is that link? I think it's open for exploration. I'm not gonna say no, we come from the Pleiades or we don't, but I'm gonna say we can come from everywhere. So if someone is convinced, you must be convinced of something, not all things, but something. But what can do say though is that many ancient cultures link the Pleiades, Islimela, Kirimera, they link it to the beginning. They link it to a time that tells us it's the beginning now. Some cultures say the ancient gods came from there. I mean, I'm not really into that thing of gods now. I don't believe that nonsense of gods. It could have been just primordial humans or some people who are into more science fiction. It's future humans. They traveled back in time and gave us civilization. I think that's something that's open for exploration though. But the cultural significance of the Pleiades, I can go on and on for days on that one. Guys, I'm gonna hold it there for today. It's 5 minutes past 3. We are 5 minutes out of our time. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for attending.
One more
Uh,
question.
yep.
Sorry, I know it's your time as well. I just wanted to ask. I know you said that there's no such a thing